we, the contactees, might be a better way of saying it. So people like myself and Lee and other people, they want you to work through it to an extent. They are there to help out. They will help out where they can. But in a lot of ways, they want you to work it through on your own because, one, they want to see your cognitive abilities. They want to see if you have the ability to reason, the ability to work out advanced problems. And
Problem
that's what they're
solving.
looking for. Yeah, because so when they bring you on board as a keeper or a communicator or just somebody working with the group, they want to know that while you're in with the group that you can deal with the problems. And so what they do is they do basic, I guess you could call it basic training for a lack of a better word. So,
Yeah.
so let's say you're a Z-Genner. Okay. What are you talking about, Mark? Oh, you mean Leah's a Z-Genner? No, she's young. She's a baby, but she's not a Z-Genner.
I'm a
No,
Y. I'm a Y
she,
me. Generation Y me.
why the F me generation?
Why did this happen?
We're just not going to touch that. But why do you think she's a Z-Genner? She's young, but she don't. How old do you think she is? 21. Damn, Leah, you look good, baby. 21. Well, how old do you think I
Gray
am?
hair. Look at all this gray hair. This gray hair.
He said you did that on purpose.
Oh no.
Yeah. No one intentionally does this.
Well, you want to call it? I mean, I'm sure she'll take the compliment for what it is. So
I'm 38.
she's a baby.
I remember 38 very well.
I got hairs older than 38, man. What are you talking about?
I've got clothes from the 80s that I'm still wearing.
Anyway, we're being idiots, but John. So John, tell me about. I wish you'd come in here, and so I didn't have to read it, and I could just text it in the room. I know I see you on my messenger just fine. So tell me about. So you were taken by the Greys recently. 4 Greys? That's weird. Why was there 4 Greys? What did you do? Aggravate one of them? So no, I'm sorry. I'll stop picking on you. So tell me what went on. Well, it's a lot of typing. That's why I wanted you to come over here. You could have popped in the thing, or I could have drug you into the conversation with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, in case y'all didn't know this, I have the ability to put y'all on voice. If you're brave enough to get up here with us and get on voice. Yes, all I have to do is send you an invite link, and you can be in voice with us. Yeah, up to 10 people. But anyway, so the other night you're just sleeping, minding your own business. Your chihuahua sleeping on your chest. Sounds like one of mine. Just doing her regular business, and she started whimpering. Why'd she start whimpering? Then she jumped off your chest, tore off, left a little scratch marks across it. We didn't need to know that. Ran down the hallway and started barking at something. Okay. So then you got up, walked down the hallway, and seen what you thought was a gray when something walked out behind you, took you by the hand, and another one walked out and took you by the hand, and they walked up the wall. They were walking up the wall while holding you, and then all 3 of y'all went through the roof. So
What?
when you came out the roof, were you in the air? Were you in the ship? Oh, so you only seen the sky for just a second, and next thing you knew, you were in a ship. So there was a little gap between the house, and the ship. Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, levitated through the house into the atmosphere, then into the ship.
So then what happened next? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, so you fell on the floor whimpering like a little schoolgirl. Okay. Now, not all schoolgirls fall on the floor whimpering. That's sexist. Behave yourself.
Schoolgirls are quite tough.
That's right. Some of them will kick your ass, so you better be careful here. Really, though, you were on your hands and knees, face down, facing your hands, crying your ass off. No. Look. It's okay for men to cry. So let's just get that out right away. Especially when the alien's dragging your ass up through the what do you mean? No, I'm different than you are. So I'm a different kind of guy. I'd have been trying to jank the alien by his ankle and drag him back.
Yeah, I'd try to drag him down to the local high school to get pictures taken or something.
Lia taught me kung fu to kick the next alien's ass, so y'all better watch out, man. No, but really, I mean, I know we pick a lot, but it's a serious conversation, and now even the government is interested in what happens with abductees because one, they're just not getting to the truth when it comes to UFOs. So they had Dr. Greer up there, and obviously they didn't get squat out of that. Then they brought in the
David Grush.
The David Grush spy guy, who, by the way, his own words, he's never seen a UFO. He's never seen an alien. He's never witnessed an alien abduction or witnessed anything coming through the portal. But yet, he's the witness.
Who's the Jeremy Corbell guy that was sitting next to Bob Lazar in an interview recently.
So Jeremy
Jeremy
Corbell's a filmmaker out of
Mhm.
I think Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and he started researching UFOs and came across the Bob Lazar story and was intrigued on it. And at the time he started looking for Bob Lazar, Bob had sequestered himself out of the community. Since he opened up his story in 1989, his life is just, and he didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. He was tired of it. He's not made any money off it. It's actually made his life more hell.
Right.
But Jeremy Corbell was able to actually coax him back out of the shadows and get into an interview. And he did a couple of videos with him. And Bob Lazar's story has not changed from day one, 1989, to the most recent interview when he talks about it. And he's Jeremy Corbell seems to be a pretty nice guy. He just kind of showed up out of nowhere, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the last time I talked with Bob, the only thing I had to ask Bob, because I caught him off guard, we were sitting having dinner, actually. It wasn't a formal interview. And we were chatting, and I looked across the table because I was sitting there with Edgar Mitchell and Buzz Aldrin. I forgot the other guy's name. He was a pilot. Anyway, the four of us were sitting there, five of us were sitting having dinner, and Stephen Bissett was there too. And I looked up at him. I said, "Look, Bob," I said, "I really don't have a problem with what you said." I said, "But I got some friends that work at Los Alamos and Area 51 and the WIP facility." I said, "And I got something I want to ask you, but I don't want to ask you in front of all these people because, you know, if it's true, I don't." So he come and sat down next to me, and I said, "Look," I said, "a good friend of mine pulled the roster for employees there, and you're on the roster." I said, "You're listed as an employee of Los Alamos that works at Los Alamos. They don't call it Area 51; they have another name for it. And at the WIP facility," I said, "but they had you listed as a janitor, not as a scientist." I said, "So we launched a big investigation into you, found out where you went to high school, even though the ufology community said they couldn't find your high school or college records," which was a lie, by the way, because we found them with no problem at all. And I said, "I noticed that you didn't have any real degrees in physics, which is something you would have had to have in order to have an idea of what you're working on." I said, "Look, I'm not calling you a liar, Bob. I said, I believe what you said you saw. I said, I just don't believe you who you say you are. I said, but I'm not calling you out on your story. I'm calling you out on who and what you say you actually are."
His credentials, at least.
I said, because obviously, I said, "Well, I got a couple questions for you that any beginner physicist would know." He said, "Well, how do you know that?" I said, "I got a bachelor's in science and advanced avionics electronics." I said, "You'd be surprised what I know." I said, "So I want to just ask you this." And then I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'm not going to do it." I said, I'm going to be nice. I said, "I like you, Bob." I said, "I think you're telling the story you're telling is true, except for who and what you are." And I said, "And I don't really have a big problem with that either way." I said, "Because there's two things you said that I know you were there for, because I've been there, and I know with those two statements that the only way you can know that is if you actually been there, because nobody tells you about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody even talks about it when they're off air. Nobody talks about it." I said, "There's probably only a couple of dozen people even get to go to that part of the building." I said, "So knowing those two alarm sets, the way they're set apart like that, told me you've been in I forgot which hangar it's called, hangar 41, I think is what it's called. And it lets me know you'd actually been in that hangar." I said, "That told me right then and there that, you know, but the other problem is no scientists I know from those areas know you." I said, when I gave them a picture, they said, "Oh, the janitor." I said, "So we've got your roster from the person who does it, who's a personal friend, a really good friend of mine. And we've got at least a half dozen scientist witnesses, thanks to Brim, that said, no, that's not who you are." So a good friend of mine is in charge of all the scientists at the Eastern Boeing facility in California. Well, she's also knows all the scientists that work at the 5 major labs, because she's one of the ones that deals with it. Now, her and I have been knowing each other for a long time because her sister's a good friend of mine, and when we have talked many times. Like with Stevensville, she was the first person I called when I was in Stevensville, after I had learned what I heard, because she was the one that was going to be able to tell me what it was. So the thing of it is she has him and one other guy not listed as scientists on any maps or rosters anywhere. She said, "I backtracked for 30 years. He's not on any of them, Joe. Not any of them." And when I showed his picture around, the few scientists that did recognize him said he was the janitor. So that actually matches what the thing says. But okay, let's say that's true. What does it actually mean? It means this.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
because all it matters is he saw what he saw. And somebody asked, well, they would never let a janitor. I said, they most certainly would. I said,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised where janitors get to go. Where I said, you'd really be
You-
surprised where they're allowed to go, man. I said,
right. Look, if you have a top secret place, an area, trash and gunk is going to accumulate, and you have to have somebody with a high enough clearance that can go in there and clean up the materials. And they probably also are very highly advanced as far as HHM goes, because there's probably some very nasty chemicals floating in those labs that they also have to be specially trained to clean up and get rid of. So
it doesn't matter what you are out there. You're going to have a clearance, and you're going to have to be at least certified in some things. It's like the Navy. Everybody gets certified in firefighting and several other things. You got to learn, how to save someone's life. You got to learn how to deliver a baby. You got to learn how to put out a chemical fire, a regular fire, a ship fire. It's just stuff. It's basic training. It's just things you learn.
And it's not a common sense. It's not a common sense thing either. I mean, one of the things you said that's most dangerous on a ship is a fire. Yes, that's like the number one priority. And people are like, oh, how is that a danger? You're on water. But yeah, you got weapons and ammunition and other things that can go boom. So it's a number one priority.
But Phil, the reason we brought all this up is because this David Koresh guy, I keep calling him David Koresh.
David Grush.
Who was David Koresh? Wasn't he one of the
David Koresh was the guy in Texas that they went in and blew up the building.
The Waco?
Yeah,
Waco. Yeah, the Waco idiot. Yeah. Thought he was Jesus Christ.
His name just keeps popping in my head. But anyway, this other guy, so I listened to all his testimony, and a bunch of our conspiracy girls listened to all his testimony. It's useless. He didn't experience any of it at all.
No, he didn't. But he was in an administrative position where he got a hold of some of this information, and nothing he said hasn't been said before. There was just no, shocking like, oh,
well,
this is,
so one of the things
I've heard everything he said before once, 100 times ago.
One of the things I was asked when I was being interrogated. Well, interrogated is not the right word, but anyway, while I was giving testimony, one of the things I was asked was, why do they communicate with people the way they do? Why do they take certain people? I said, well, they abduct everybody via bloodlines. I said, whatever was the original bloodline, 100,000, 200,000, 2 million, whatever the hell it was, that's what they abduct off of. They don't abduct everybody on the planet, and they don't abduct people randomly. There's no, you don't get abducted by accident. There's none of that bullshit. But people want to make it out to be like that because it makes them feel better about, oh, well, I've been taken. Well, yeah, if you've been taken, you've been taken, but it don't mean you've been taken today. If you remember at 50, that's Jack. You were taken before you were born. You just starting to remember at 50 for whatever reason, you showed something on the ships that shows that you want to be involved. And so they'll let you remember a little bit at a time. But
or it could be something in the brain chemistry that some of them repressed memories are coming back that they're no longer to keep from you.
But with
whatever it is.
But with all the contactees and abductees I've talked to and all the military I've talked to, no one's ever talked about 73 crash saucers and hundreds of grays. No one's ever talked about that but this guy. First off, that would mean the Greys are the dumbest group of aliens to ever exist. So you keep flying through the portal and you keep falling off the thing and dying or getting captured, and you just keep doing it over and over for what, 10,000, 20,000 years? Means they got far more than 73 ships because this has been going on a long time. We know the Greys have been around at least 10,000 years or more. So if they've been, every other time they come, they crash. The amount of ships piled up has got to be ridiculous.
Oh, and if you go with Zachariah Sitchin's assessment of things and talk about the Anunnaki, who are also extraterrestrial aliens, even though they might be, solar brothers, they've been here 450,000 years. So think how many things they've crashed. I mean, how much stuff have they left behind? There's got to be. So
this is what. But think about it this way. So we'll look at the flight record of the FAA, and then we'll look at the flight record of the aliens. As far as we know, the FAA is flying literally tens of thousands more flights than the aliens are, and rarely have a crash. But the aliens are crashing every other time they come here. That's ridiculous to even think that.
It doesn't make sense.
And especially since we know there's at least 3 big types visiting. So what? The humans and reptilians crash along with them?
So what about the theory that a lot of the UFOs that people see are actually just man-made craft that are, government, top secret government, craft that are built to either trick people, not trick people, but like keep them confused or whatever, or or that they're trying to recreate alien technology here on Earth.
Yeah, they call them ARVs, alien
creations. Yeah,
recreated vehicles. But yeah, no, we can't tell you. There's some of them are, some of them aren't. But even so, the technology within those devices, whether it's made by us as a retrofitted device or whether it's made off planet by them, they can't possibly be crashing every time they show up in our atmosphere. I mean, we talked about a couple of shows ago about they open up a portal and they crash, and there's hundreds of thousands of these crashes. I'm only aware of about 15 that the U.S. government's involved. They probably have more. But
so let's look at this differently, though. Let's look at this even differently. So let's say one gray ship crash while fully engaged. If it blows up, the whole planet's gone. The reactor system they're using is so much more advanced than anything we understand, dark matter or something along those lines. If it goes, it's taking us with it. So I have a hard time thinking they just fall out the sky. According to what the military says about the only one that they've ever talked about, the one at Area 51, the power supply is enough to empower the entire world for its existence. Wow. So what happens if it goes?
So for 4.5 more billion years, this thing will keep the whole planet in power.
The whole planet, the whole damn planet. So I mean, these are things that when you look at this, you're kind of like, well, what the hell? So you have too much contrast here. You have one guy saying this, one guy saying that. So the reason Koresh is saying what he is because of Greer. Greer's a big believer that they come from the dimensions. They don't come from space. They come from dimensions because Greer's confused about the grays. He doesn't realize that the grays use the dimensions to jump back and forth from the places they're going. It's the way they travel. We found that out, I don't know, decades ago. So it tells me right there how far they are behind mainstream research. But Greer's got a name, but he doesn't have any evidence.
I don't think he has all the information either. I mean,
he's got zero
to do any of us, but there's at least 5 or 6 different races of beings that could be qualified as a gray being, and they're not all the same. There's one race that we consider that is the main grays, that are the Zeta Reticulans. Those are the ones we need to worry about. The other 4 or 5 races, I don't think are even visiting our planet anymore.
Well, from what the Greys say, the only races allowed to come here and abduct are the Greys, reptilians, and human. Nobody else even allowed here. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed to come to our planet. They can be destroyed for coming to our planet. The light beings say the Greys are the galactic policemen, which means they're the second most advanced race in the cosmos behind the light beings. So how could they be crashing ships here?
Yeah, I mean,
so they were supposed to be updated by the by the humans, not the humans, by the light beings. When the light beings found this galaxy, it was in war. They found the Greys and used the Greys and become the galactic policemen and bring peace to the galaxy. And they say a lot of what we thought was damaged by asteroids was damaged by wars. And there are signs on this planet that at one point or another, it might have been hit by large nuclear weapons. There's also signs of that on Mars. Venus, we can't tell because Venus is changes so much.
And we can't tell on our Earth because we've had so many recent, even back in the 50s and 40s and 60s, those experiments with nuclear explosions.
But there are still things like Tuscany.
But there's ways to test if there's been nuclear disclosure in the past, and we can't go back to biblical times and test because we've polluted the air with our own nuclear. Had we tested for nuclear explosions in 1938, we might have said, hey, someone blew up a nuclear explosion on this planet. We haven't developed it yet, but we didn't do it. So we can't tell. But there is definite evidence on Mars of 2 large. I mean, I think was it Brandenburg is the guy's name, Dr. Brandenburg. He said that it was equivalent to like a 10,000 megaton explosion, both of them. We don't have anything that big.
No, not right now. We don't. Other than George Bush's Planet Killer, that's not completed yet. So, what's that, Stephanie? So, for me, Greer, no, I've called Greer out more than one time. Greer knows. Mm-hmm. Greer knows about as much as my Chihuahua does about aliens. Actually, my Chihuahua probably knows more. Honestly,
I've forgotten more about this information than he's ever even heard.
So Greer has the same problem MUFON has. First off, Greer is chasing lights in the sky.
Yeah.
You can never get to the truth chasing lights in the sky. You'll never get there. I used to give Stephen Bissett shit about this all the time. Okay. Without knowing who's flying those lights in the sky, you can't get anywhere.
Right.
Okay. We can say, oh, look how pretty that saucer was. Or look how pretty that. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
We've been hearing about
you got to
flying
follow the
saucers
paper
for
trail.
1,000 years. It's just we need to know what aliens are really here and what they're doing here. And from almost everybody I've talked to in the government, they say they don't know.
Yeah,
they say don't believe the bullshit. So I talked
well,
to
they know more than the average human and the average
no,
researcher, but
actually
they
they
don't
don't.
know everything. They don't know everything, and
That's the
that's what
problem. They
scares me.
don't. So
Yeah.
so everybody, almost nobody in Congress knows even what a UFO is. They have
What?
no clue. Until recently, they didn't even have a clue. The 5 committees that might know something are so divided and so broke up that they don't know what the other one knows, and none of them know anything about the real story. And then
Yep.
think of it this way: they have not even figured out what the Foo Fighters were. And what are we going on? 80 years now?
At least, yeah. I mean, most of the people from World War II that have
And
spoken
worse
about them
than
are no
that,
longer with us. But yeah, they
but
attack
worse than
both
that,
sides.
I didn't know I was those cameras. Worse than that, we can't even repeat them.
No, we can't.
So
And
we
still don't know
things.
whose side they were on. It seems that they attacked both
But
sides.
see, that's always been my
on
problem
both
with some of
fronts.
the. That's always been my problem with some of the more famous ufologists. Is look, things like these you have to figure out because that's something that every Air Force that was fighting saw. Not just the Americans, not just the Brits, not just the Germans, not just the Japanese. Everybody in Allies and Axis saw these things.
They were
They
200 some odd countries in that war. So
Yeah,
anyone who had an Air Force saw these things.
Yeah, they saw them in the Pacific, they saw them in the Atlantic, they saw them in the Mediterranean, they saw them in Germany, they saw them in England. The only place they didn't see them was in the United States.
California.
Oh, I see.
Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Battle of LA. So
yeah.
So here we are with these things flying all over our planet doing a war. Everybody thought it was everybody else's. Now we all know it was none of ours, but still we don't know what the hell they are. But yet we're going to listen to this guy who says they crash every time they come through a thing. Why am I not on cam? Oh, that's why. I got to put my sexy self on cam.
And Greer's a medical doctor. He's not even a physicist. Right?
He was an ER doctor, wasn't he? He worked in an emergency room.
Yeah, he was a medical
doctor. He was an ER doctor. He wasn't even that good at one either, from what I heard.
Yeah. He no longer has a license to practice medicine.
Yeah, he can't practice medicine.
As far as I know.
Anymore. Well,
and I don't know how he lost it either, but it probably was bad.
I met Greer on several occasions over the years. First time I ever met him was about 6 months after he did his big thing in May, or 9/11, whatever it was. And so anyway, I met him. Stephen Bissett introduced me to him. And him and I are talking, and I'm like, well, dude, where do you come up with this shit from? Who's telling you this? And he's like, oh, these people in Congress. I said, nobody in Congress knows. I said, who's telling you? I said, dude, you're being used. I said, pay attention to who's telling you. There's only a handful of people in the whole world that need to know anything about this as far as the government goes. And they're not really giving up the information because, so in case y'all didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in that echelon class that knows the real secrets, you will be shot instantly and killed instantly. Not just you. They will take your whole family. They'll walk up and shoot your little baby on the floor.
Not just your family. You're not just your immediate family, but your cousins.
Yeah, uncles, they'll take it out. I think it's 5 generations out.
They will wipe out
why?
Because it's a lesson to people like me and you and Jay to know. Look, Johnny over there said, "Hey, look at me," and they said, hey, "We see you just fine." They want us to know that I've been threatened. I've been told, and this is what's so funny. Or scary, I guess would be a better word. So
yeah, me too.
I know everybody's heard me tell a story about being at work, but they knew where Linda was. They knew where my son was. They knew what they were wearing, what they were doing. My son was at school. Linda was at the doctor's. They knew exactly what car she was in, what color clothes she had, what color hair she had. She just dyed her damn hair, some weird reddish purple color. And my son was at school. They told me what he was in, what he was on. They even told me what class he was in. And all they wanted me to realize was, look, at any time, Joe, anytime, there's nothing you can do to ever stop this, which they're right. There's nothing. And if they want to do it, there's nothing I can do to stop it. There's way bigger power than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was never to make me stop. The thing was to make me think.
Yeah.
So they were like, look, we're not telling you not to do what you're doing because we need people like you doing what you're doing. We looking for the truth just like everybody else is. That's why I tell you, don't ever believe the government because there would not, if the government knew what was going on, there would be no military abductions ever. There wouldn't be a need for them. But because there's lots of military abductions, that tells you the government has no idea what's going on. And it's the only way they can get information is by taking contactees. That's why Betty and Barney Hill was such a big thing. It was probably the first military abduction. But by knowing these things, you know that there's other stuff going on. So They basically just told me, Joe, you drive a lot, you're on the highway a lot, you're here, you're there, you're like, I'm gonna be flying to California in 2 weeks. Whoops. Anything can happen along the way. So they just wanted me to know that I was vulnerable, which at the time I didn't think I was. I thought I was Superman, like a dumbass. So no, it taught me a lesson though. It taught me that I was in some ways vulnerable, but it also told me to stay active on air because it's protection. By staying talking about what we talk about all the time, it puts them in a different place. They're like, well, okay, if he just disappears in some mysterious way, it's going to be not the aliens, but the military. And they don't really want the heat if they don't have to have it. They just want you to follow along the line that they're looking. They just can't make us. And then there's the other problem that they have. Let's say that they threaten Lia. Okay, Leah's minding her own business. She's doing her UFO thing. And some government agency comes up and says, look, girl, you don't do this, this, and this is what's going to happen to you. So let me tell you what's really going to happen. The first time the military actually tries to do that to her, her assigned gray will show up, and God help the government. Because there ain't a damn thing they can do to stop them, and they will kill. We have got at least 100 reports where the grays have come in and killed everybody in the building. Not just in the room, in the building. They have a nasty distemperament. And they like certain humans, and they like the ones in family lines, and they like the ones they're working with. Because, like in Leah's case, they know her great grandmother back 25,000, maybe even longer than that, maybe a couple 100,000 years back. No telling how many times they've abducted you.
Tell them who I told you. I found out who I'm related to.
Oh, and oh yeah, and see, you're just possessed anyway now. So her and I are talking the other day. She's got Mr. Constantine is in her family line.
Very
in her direct family line. So, being and bad part is poor John was probably seeing aliens and not freaking angels, but he didn't know how to deal with it. I mean, hell, we barely know how to deal with it. Think of it. Think of this three here. If we were, say, 1,000 years ago, we're sitting out on a porch talking somewhere, and we see some weird shit in the sky. Well, we're not going to think it's aliens. We're going to think it's demons or gods or maybe Hercules, something like that.
Yeah, angels, something
maybe Andromeda, her sexy self. I mean, something good. But today we have a different approach on it. We look at things differently. We know a lot of what was considered little people are grays. Bruce, okay, first off, the grays are like, you got a gray this tall, and then you got a gray this tall, and then you got a gray that's 7-8 foot,
7-8
and
feet.
then there's a female queen that's about 9 feet. Yeah, see, everybody gets stuck on the 3-foot grays, and you got to remember there's two types of 3-foot grays. There is the regular gray who runs around like Bob behind me who has skinned, and and then there's a gray that's what do you call them? Not automatons.
More like a drone.
When they're half android and half human.
Yeah, they're a
cyborg. So they got some that are cyborg, and so this gray controls the sort of controls the cyborg gray. So they work in teams and pairs. Actually, usually in 3 or more. But it's what happens is they use them in excessively dangerous places, because a gray can have its consciousness uploaded. But let's say the gray is in a place where there's something blocking it, or in a place where they can't. They can send these guys in to do the thing and still have complete control, like they're there, or and that way
their bodies are equally as frail as ours, so
they really are. They're way stronger than us.
A device to keep them safe, but even their drones and devices are easily damaged by our firepower. So
the small stuff like that. So that's where people are weirded out. Yeah, so that's what weird people out. So certain types of drones we can shoot down. They have these sphere things that fly all over the place, and all 3 of the races that come here and abduct have them, and they can be the size of like this to the size of a damn house. A lot of them are very susceptible to rocket fire. As a matter of fact, one of the guys, this guy in Pensacola, Florida, hit one with a not a Roman candle, one of those big rockets you shoot up. It was 4th of July. No, I'm sorry, it was New Year's. Knocked it out the sky. Yeah, he knocked it out of the sky. It was about this big, and it was glowing green. He said it reminded him of like a sphere full of kryptonite or something, because it was shifting and shit. So he brought it home, and he was trying to figure out what it was. He said, man, in the middle of the night, all my lights went out. He said, I'm hollering at my family, yet nobody in my family is responding to me. He said, I heard a door. He said, there was just some, and he said the word something because he couldn't describe it. He's like, there was just something standing there, and it went like this. An orb just floated over to him, and then it turned around and walked out. And as soon as it disappeared, everything came back on. I started hearing my family, what the hell are you doing with the lights? What's wrong with you? He was like, nobody believes me, Joe. He said, I tell everybody nobody believes me. I'm like, I said, that's what cameras are for. Take pictures, my friend. Has Lia been abducted? No, the aliens are scared of Lia. She put a chokehold on a grave one time. I was like, shit. Even I was kind of a little scared. I was like, damn, man.
I've had dreams. In my dreams, like I just had another weird dream last night, but my dreams take me places, and I don't know how else to explain it, but I go places in my dreams. And I've seen some things that I have a hard time talking to people about, and it feels very real. It feels like I'm there. It feels like they feel like immersive training videos, my dreams.
Yes, and in some ways they probably are. That's why I was telling you when we were talking a week or two ago. I said, anytime you can see like instruction manuals or instruction boards or daylight outside, or matter of fact, who was it just recently called me because they've been having this not so much reoccurring, but kind of reoccurring, but each time it was a little bit different. But anyway, it went on, and then finally one day she's sitting there. And there was a guy, this would have been just like in the 50s with somebody with a newspaper. There was a guy sitting there with an Apple pad on his leg, flipping through the news. And she just happened to catch the date of the news. It was 2033.
How are we reading news from 20 years in the future?
So she was like, were they just screwing with me, or was this actually where I was? So then she started looking, as he was looking, and then the guy just came over and said, are you really that interested? And she nodded, So he pulled his chair over, set the pad down, and she said it was so weird because her Apple pad is about this thick. He said this Apple pad was about this thick. She said, but it was definitely an Apple pad. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was just a much thinner, like credit card thin pad, but it was still the same thing. And he was telling how good it was and how it did all this other stuff and how you could communicate all around with it and stuff. But anyway, so they're flipping through looking at the news together. And she said, Joe, the news was so different. She said some stuff seemed to be the same, like the same old bullshit. She said, but there was other places, like when they were talking about Europe, it was like a whole different place now. She said America was a whole different place. It was almost like there had been a fundamental shift, at least in what she called the free world consciousness is what she called it. What it is, I don't know, but it is interesting to talk about. But, we when we start having people with, so this is what is hard for me. I get people who come in that have shifts towards a different consciousness level who are contactees. But I also get the ones that come in who are having the Holocaust dreams. So how do I take this? So it looks like there's this part, then this part, which nobody talks about, and then this part, which people do talk about. So you have like the beginning and the end, but you don't know what the hell is in the middle, what's spanning this time period. And then when you listen to the Holocaust dream people, it sounds like their start runs all the way to the other beginning where this girl's talking about it. But she also said on several occasions, after being taken the first time, she said on several occasions, she said, I noticed that there were aliens on Earth. She said, when you were reading some of the articles, they were talking about like the gray or the reptilian or you. And she said there was 4 or 5 other aliens. They said had just been allowed, had cleared whatever they called it, and were actually allowed on the planet now. But she also said it said the human population, 1.85 billion.
And we're at almost
like
8.
Less than what it is now.
So it's 8 billion right now.
Oh, going on 8 billion, yeah.
And they're saying it was 1.85 billion. And wait, it's better than that. So something else went on. So it has to be a longer time span than she realized. It must be like 2133 because she says that initially the people who survive, most of them, which about 80% of the ones that survive were supposed to be around 1.5 billion, were taken off world. And they're never coming back. Only the ones, the cleanup crews that were left are the only humans left on the planet. So that means whatever group this 1.8 came from that particular group, which is a very talented group. They have above higher IQs. They have They're they're empathic, telepathic, and telekinesis. That's why they were left, I guess. Probably going to cause trouble. You put them anywhere else. From what I understand, from what they talk about when they have to go retrieve these contactees to bring to these different groups because the government's trying to snatch them, they had to do some. Her word was atrocities. The funny part is something bad, and well, you remember Gia? I don't know if you ever met Gia or not. Jeff knows her, but Gia told me one night. She said she called me like frantic and screaming, and this is right after we had started learning about all this stuff. And she said, "I just woke up and I was screaming." She said, "Because I had to burn them alive." I was like, "What are you talking about, burn them alive?" She said, "Joe, they were going to take the people we had already took, and you said handle it, and it just like." She said it was like, what did she describe it as something? She said it just poured out of her and just, and this blue flame, they just kind of melted away. She said it happened so fast I couldn't even scream. I was like, and she went into detail about the trucks that were there, the tanks that were there, the graveyard that was there, because the humans, the military had been going around burying large mass graves of humans that didn't survive. It really sounds like some type of pandemic. So you had there was probably about 10 or 12 billion people when this happened. So about 2 billion, or probably more than half, died right out of the get go. The rest of those, all except for the ones who were left behind, went off world somewhere else. So all the ones that went off world are contactees, every one. And some of these may have not actually been from this time. They may have been people that were put in hold until this all happened. Because we wonder all the time, why are they over graveyards? Why are they mortuaries? Why are they over cemeteries? And it's always near a fresh grave or somebody who just came in. It's almost like they've got to retrieve whatever it is they got to retrieve in a short amount of time. I guess if they wanted your consciousness, it has to be within like 3 days of your death or something, which scares me, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That means you're freaking conscious for 3 days after you die. I'm not liking that even a little bit.
What happens if you get like eaten by a shark or something and like?
Oh, then I don't know if they can retrieve it. Then I don't know.
If your brain is damaged, they probably can't get anything. But if they have the technology, they can probably get processed and saved data out of a biological brain pretty easy.
But so when the Greys are pushed about this, they say they retrieve everything that comes out of your brain goes in, but they said that is not actually where your consciousness resides. I was like, really? It resides somewhere around here. They were talking about. I wish somebody would give me some more detail about that. I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah.
That's the first time I'd ever heard that. I'm like, really? Well, that's interesting. That's not in here. But in the old days, they always said it was from your heart, your soul, and your consciousness.
Yeah, from the chest. And I've heard other stories from the 70s and 80s where abductees had said, or contactees had said that the similar words that the soul, what we consider the soul, doesn't reside in the mind or the body. It's hard to describe how they describe it because they can't describe it, but it must be something that's so intangible you can't describe it. But it's been described in many other abductees.
Some people think our consciousness resides in the dimension next to us.
Yeah, and there's a mythological thing called the Well of the Souls, where they think it's like a container that holds all the souls that are ever created, and then when you die, you go back into that until your next incarnation comes around.
What did you say, Leah?
What about the dream world? Where does the consciousness fit in when it comes to?
So that's a good question. So dreams are weird because you have really a couple of types of dreams. You have just everyday dreams that you're just dreaming because whatever went on in your life that day. Jay was being a butthole, it snowed or something. Anyway, I mean, whatever, just bullshit dreams. Then you have other dreams that are guidance or directive dreams. Not what those are is so you have a problem in your life and you're trying to work it out. Sometimes you can program yourself, or sometimes you don't even have to program yourself, but to help you to figure out what it is that you're working on.
And you can program your dreams before you go to sleep. You can say, I want to dream about whatever, fix a problem, or I want to be a superhero tonight. And you can actually have a vivid dream. I've done it plenty of times. It's kind of fun, actually.
Yes, and then there's
talk about my dream that I had last night soon, Joe.
No, you tell him. Your voice is better than mine. Tell him. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to tell you?
I want you to tell him. Yes, look at you. Get them big eyes out there and tell him. Y'all see, she's part alien. In case y'all didn't know that.
Well, the dream I had last night, I feel like, I mean, this is a new dream. I haven't had this one yet, I don't think, but a similar concept to a different dream I've had where I'm in a house and the house is divided, like a house divided. Think of it that way. The house, it's a big learning facility. I think it felt like a live-in school where like I was a new girl. I was like one of the newer kids there, a newer student or something, and I was being given a tour of this place, and I was shown where the dining room was, and it was like a common dining room where everyone would come sit together, and then there was a common lounge area, but the common areas were in between the living quarters, right, of two different kinds of people, I guess. Like the area where I lived, it seemed like we were the workers or fighter slash workers or something, because we were learning
probably both,
like,
yeah.
Like we were building campouts and stuff outside and like learning how to like do survival stuff, like outdoor survival. But then the woman who was facilitating the place told me that I could go grab some items out of a tote in the bathroom on the other side where these other people lived, and they all slept in the same room together. Like they all had their own individual beds, but it was in like one big sleeping room. And they all seemed to be calm and collected, and like in my mind it felt like they were the talented creative ones. Like they had some type of creative talent that they were that they were learning and being nurtured for, right? And so I come back out and I was like, is that where all the smart people sleep? Is that where all the smart, like creative, talented people sleep? And she looks at me like, don't go there, Lia. Because I was basically saying, is that where shouldn't I be over there on that side? You
That's
know,
right.
you know.
No, that was where the hippies were, man. That wasn't the smart people. That was the hippie people.
But for some reason, I was like, being told to like build campouts and do outdoorsy things. But that was just the one dream I had last night, and I don't know how it relates to all my other crazy dreams I've had, but I just thought I'd share it because
that's why I tell you, you got to get a journal. And
I did.
important.
I started writing. I just write bullet notes.
That's fine. Well, I do the same thing because my handwriting sucks anyway. But so on one of mine from like 1970, on the very back of it is a sketch on how to make a fission engine, and it's just sitting there. Yeah, I just I woke up one morning, it was in my head, so I never thought about it again. And I had Michio Kaku on. I said, I dreamt about this one time. Can I show you? And he said, sure. So I showed. He said, what's your degree in again? I said, it's electronics and avionics. He said, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, that's what my degrees are in. He said, can we talk about this off the air? I said, sure. And because he said, man, that is very advanced. He said, we haven't even got to that yet. He said, I know what it is by looking at it. I was looking for a way to get us faster than light travel because I'm tired of this boring ass planet. Not meaning I don't want to go, but I just want us to get where we can start just, exploring space. And it just came to me one night. It was after a contact, but it just came to me. I just woke up in the morning. I'm like, wow, let's just write all this down. And them two journals are full. They're about yay thick and they're full. I got another one laying around here somewhere. That when I get around it, I write into it. And then I got two books around here. I just use it if I'm deciding to write a book or something. I use it to write down ideas. I actually use it so in case I want to do a show by myself and I don't want to guest, I can just go through the stuff I'm using and talk about it. What is that, Christopher? Christopher, where are you from? Oh, you're in Cali. All right.
That's right. I'm in Cali right now.
Yes.
Born and raised for the most part.
She's a Cali girl. Yes.
Well, this is where I was born. This is where I went to high school. I came back and forth here for most of my life. I'm here now, so.
And where? Oh, you're not in Eureka, California. Don't bullshit me. No, because that'd be like 5 people in 2 weeks. Eureka's like this big, man. Come on.
Yeah, there's like what 1,000 people live there.
I think Eureka. Yes. I actually used to drive up there often. I used to live in Arcata. You have to drive through Eureka to get to Arcata.
Yeah, well, that's where all them brilliant scientists are supposed to live. That's from the TV series. People don't get crazy. We didn't mean for real. What is that, Jesse? Oh, You mean, what is it to being an abductee? It's nothing because you don't remember anything. You get bits and pieces like dreams or these weird feelings, or sometimes
or the sense of deja vu that it's something like this has happened before.
Weird. Oh yeah, deja vu bad. So
I live in a constant state of deja vu.
So the when we first got in this, we used to get a lot of female stuff. Like if there were certain things when they were going to the doctor, would flip them out. Them freaking stirrups. If I had $1 for every time a woman was in stirrups and they called me afterwards, I'd be a millionaire. It just flip them out for some reason. Or if their doctor had red hair, sometimes it'd flip them out. And it's not just the women, but at that point, there were so many more women reporting than men. It was ridiculous. And when we got into this field, we were like, okay, well, I guess you only need one male donor for every couple of hundred women donors. I said, I think this is not working right, but we're going to go for it. And I was somewhere one night, this is about 10 years after I got in the field, and I'm thinking, there's got to be more than just a handful of male contactees. I'm just having an issue with it. So I started pushing and pushing and pushing. And when I was at conferences, I started talking to guys. I'm like, look, it's okay. You can come out. I said, we can do this in the private. Nobody has to know. It doesn't have to be on the air or the radio. I said, people just assume that I'm on the radio, that we're going to put everything, but that's not true. Most of what I talk about never gets on the radio. God, y'all would love it. I'd had the most popular show on the freaking planet. No, y'all just trust me. Some of this shit is actually pretty scary, but regardless, we started pushing and pushing. And then I got some of the guys in the organization to start pushing, and I got other radio hosts to push. And then we went from about 1% males to about 18%, which was nice. That was better. Still 72% female, but still it was looking better. After about another 10 years, it got up to about 30% of males were coming forward. And I started noticing the more guys got on stage and spoke, the more likely we'd have another guy come out. But on a side note, audiences prefer to hear women contactees over men.
Why is that?
It's a good question. Why is that? It's maybe they portray more emotion or put across more emotion, or
possibly
guys don't want to fully express their emotional side. Like guys are more closed off to their emotional side, and this topic can get really emotional. And so, most women are emotional and have that ability to express themselves in that way. Whereas, in my opinion, a lot of men reserve that side. They are more reserved in the emotional sense. You know what I mean?
I was not.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that for the most part. But we have two of the most vocal, Travis Walton and the guy from Community. I just lost his name. That wrote
Whitley Strieber.
Whitley Strieber.
But let's analyze. Travis never realized he's been taking. I scared him so bad one night. It's the first time I ever interviewed him, and because I said, "Did you ever think they were just looking for you?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Travis, you're coming down in a truck, going, lights going up and down in the air." I said, "You don't think that damn thing didn't know you were coming?" And I said, "You ever wondered why it only took you? Even though the other guys were in a truck, they could have beamed him out the truck. That would have been no big deal. They just sucked you up in the ship like it was nothing. They could have sucked the doors right off the truck and taken them. They didn't." I said, they just took you. I said, you never stopped to think they were there for you. And I said, I hate to tell you this, there is no such thing as a one-time contactee. And that just freaked him right the hell out. And I was like, well, look, I said, I'm just being honest. So him and I talked for a long time after that. And then we kind of hadn't been talking. I haven't talked, not because of anything bad, just because we've been doing different things.
I always kind of got the impression, though, that he got too close to their ship and got hurt or damaged by something they were doing, and that's why they took him. And it took 4 or 5 days for them to get him healed back up.
And that's that was the original story. That's what it was. A beam of light came down and blasted him in the chest and knocked him back how many ever feet, and then it picked him up and took him. But
they're like, oh, crap, we got to fix him now.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's.
Whether he got in the way of an experiment or they were mining for something, whatever. But yeah, he's always said that it seemed like that he wasn't supposed to be there.
But then when you ask him, okay,
has he ever described how they actually looked to him? Because I have a feeling that the like 1990s movie portrayal of it, or was it late 80s, early 90s? I think it was like early 90s.
It's late 80s, yeah. A lot of that's wrong. He wasn't dropped
into
off.
like a scary thing, and I feel like it just wasn't. I feel like
he said that.
No, he was. Yeah, his interviews.
He said 2/3 of the movie was incorrect. Is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
He said on many occasions, he said it was at least 2/3. Sometimes he'll say half, but usually he says 2/3 of the movie was incorrect. And he said the aliens look nothing like that.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah,
yes. Well, Whitley Strieber said the same thing about the blue aliens. He said they look nothing like that. Mm-hmm. At least Whitley had the right color on the grays to start off with. But the problem with both these guys is so Whitley went off on some tangent with his. He thinks he's God now, he thinks his son's the Messiah. That's what it is.
He put in a religious aspect to all of his experiences.
Well, after his wife passed away, who and I used to talk all the time on Facebook. He just I don't know. He just
he changed.
He just went that way, and then he made his son the Messiah and all of this other stuff because he's too old himself to be that anyway. So I'm like Whitley, stop it. You're a contactee. You're no different than all the other thousands of contactees on our planet. And I know a lot of contactees feel the need, especially communicators, feel the need to make themselves special. I understand that. I really do. Because you really are special, but you're not really any more special than anybody else on the damn planet. We're all here for a reason. And yes, your reason is to get out there and tell them the aliens exist. But, they'll be like, oh, I command this, or I do that, or I do this. And some of that's true, and some of that's not true. But they don't need all of that. They just need to recant their story and tell them other people's stories that they've met on the ship. That's all you really need to do, because that is plenty enough to get most people like, oh, Jesus, it's a shit that goes on board the ship sometimes is outrageous. But what I find most in most contactees, they have to make themselves the hero.
Yeah.
So that takes brownie points away from you. What do you mean, Daryl? Well, no, because they make themselves, okay, it's about them. It's a narcissist thing is what it is. Or just an ego. It's maybe not narcissist. It's probably just ego, but what do you mean is about me? What's about me is about me. In other words, whatever goes on with me personally is about me.
And now, I can tell you whatever happened to you.
Yeah, I can always tell you what happened to me. I said, but it's still not about me. I don't think I'm the alien savior, if that's what you're asking me. Now, I do think I'll be playing a role in some of the stuff that goes on when it all goes on, but I don't think, no. Because none of us are. So these are groups of people who are going to be upgraded. They'll have their consciousness, everything will be upgraded. So when you hear contactees talk about these different bodies they see on board these ships that look like them, but sometimes are slightly different, and it may be different ages. These are people, and they're usually younger than you are, by the way. So in Lia's, they're probably exactly the same age. And mine and yours, they're going to probably be younger. And so what they do is they just take you, they upload your consciousness, they'll either put it in one of the hologram things, or they'll put it in one of the computers, and it's held there until you upload it into that body. And that body's, the brain's about 2.5 times the size of this one. You have telekinesis, you have telepathy, and you actually have several, I think 7 abilities altogether that are built into you. It's now so like the Greys, a lot of times the equipment they use is, so let's say they want to sculpture something. So they'll have a thing that looks like about this big, and they'll just think about it, and it'll come up in the air, and it'll just start chiseling. Whatever's in their head will start forming in the rock, just like you were chiseling, but you're not physically doing it. Your brain's doing it. And almost all of their technology exists at this level at this point in time for them. Not just for the Greys, for the reptilians and the humans too. This is a type of technology they use on a fairly regular basis. Now, the Greys and reptilians do have more click and switch technology than the Greys. The reptilians and humans have more click and switch technology than the Greys do, because Greys use an organic technology, which is entirely different and much more advanced. But all three of them still, are still in the aspect of we. I mean, one day we will be one of them, if not all of them. And it looks like now we might share all 3 of their DNA and blood, and that's true. Eventually, we will be the master. It may take.
We have a tripartitioned brain. We have a reptilian aspect, a mammalian aspect, and a insect aspect in our brains.
What about would like avians also be considered reptilians? And
they could be.
Yeah, they're a little closer to reptiles than any other. The dinosaurs, certain aspects of the dinosaur community, dinosaur beings are closer to birds than reptiles, and certain dinosaurs are closer to reptiles than birds. So there's a partition there, but yes, they're very, very similar.
But and they say one of the reptilian races, one of the tribes have wings, just like one of the tribes has gills.
The noble.
But they always want to take them and make them a different race. They're all the same race.
Yeah.
I lost count of the tribes at somewhere around 12, but
they have 5 or 6 or 7 different genome types. They're all similar but different.
If you look at them,
except for the ones with the wings.
But if you look at them standing, looking at their face, they pretty much all got the same type of face, like a human, like our human face.
Yeah.
We all, even though all of our faces look different, we all still have a standard face. It's pretty much the same for them and the other races for that matter. The grays are weird because they don't
seem
have
to be monochrome-ish. They don't have a lot of diversity.
They don't have wrinkles, which is weird because wrinkles defined us. Lines define us. They don't seem to have that.
Mm-hmm.
So they do all kind of look alike, which I hate to even think that because no telling what the gray is going to think. Did you hear him? He thinks all grays look alike. Has he ever looked in the mirror? Shit. What is it?
But I think in that aspect, because they have mental telepathy, they don't necessarily need to have a uniquely identifying body or body mark or anything like that. And that's why they're not diverse.
Then that's true. You don't really need it because if you're always in somebody's head,
you already know everything about them already.
Well, you don't really need to know
stuff you don't want to know about someone.
Well, so all that means is if a gray falls in love, he's falling in love with their other part based on who they are instead of what they are. Meaning that they don't care what
that. I mean, some of them they've been said to be emotionless, and I think that's maybe the drones, but we don't know what their emotions
it must
are.
Be because the grays have emotions because we've pushed it to where we've seen that they get angry. Questions, and we've had many contactees say that a gray can have a belly laugh like a Klingon. That's exact words they used. And sometimes they'll look at us like stupid ass humans.
Monkey.
But they can be playful, but not as much. So the ones that are actually considered to be the most dangerous are the human aliens. So if you go through history and you listen to the Sumerians, the ones who built the great dome cities before Samaria, they were human aliens or human type aliens, we'll say.
Humanoid.
And our design is based on them basically.
They're closer looking to us than most other species.
But our essence of who we are is based on the reptilian. So it's like a dual thing. And now the grays, when we got RH negative, the grays may have got into this. So we know we've got human and reptilian blood in us for sure, which is probably A and B. And then we got gray in it, which is probably O negative. Or probably negative in the O side.
Wasn't RH negative? Isn't RH negative the gray?
It must be because the grays are the newest to the. So this gets really weird really fast. So if you look at the reptilians and humans, they go way back. And as far as written history goes in our world, you can find the grays. I mean, not the grays, the reptilians.
The reptilians as far back as Sumeria.
The reptilians and humans, yeah. But you can't really see the grays until just before the time of Christ in Egypt. It's the first place they show up. And they show up in different places throughout Egypt. And then they show up in South America as well. But not before that timeline. And actually, what's really weird, shortly after that timeline, reptilians went from being the saviors of man to the destruction of man. So the South Americans have always thought that the reptilians are here to save us. And a lot of the races in Africa all thought, even the Egyptians all at one time thought they were here to save us. It wasn't until a time around Christ that switched. And the humans supposed to have been our saviors, and the reptilians were here to destroy us. Well, neither one is true. The grays are the policemen anyway, so they're the ones you got to watch out for. The reptilians are here doing their thing. The humans are here doing their thing, and the grays here doing their thing. And in the beginning, it was just the humans, and then it came the reptilians, and then they created a species. The humans created the seven creations of man, which was the Sumerian myth, with the last one being not you and I and Lia, but something almost exactly like us, maybe a little squatty or maybe a little different. But we knew things like we could procreate. We knew how to cook and make things and knead and plow the fields. But we never asked why. We never said, well, my Mr. Human Alien, I'm doing this. And we never asked that. Then the Nemos is what the Dogon called them. Those reptilians, amphibian reptilians, by the way, came to Earth, parked their ship in a lake up there, came down to Samaria, started stealing women, bringing them back, raping them, and bringing them back pregnant. Those women had children who looked a little bit different than the originals. They were a little thinner, a little taller, but not much different. But where they were really different was in attitude. They actually had an attitude like, F you, I'm not plowing the field. You go plow the frickin' field. And after, when there was enough of them, I guess they finally just overthrew the Sumerians and took over, because it came to a point where that's who we are today. That's us. That's the creation that created everybody who's listening to us, and everybody's here. We all have a reptilian section in our brain. Thank God for that, or we'd just be little stupid followers and not know our ass from a hole in the ground.
Well, they actually show up even earlier than that, Joe. The same group that shows up as the Dogon in Africa are the Dogu in prehistoric Japan and Korea, and they describe them almost exactly and identical as the African stories, but this started around 14,000, 13,000 BCE and went all the way up through 1,000 when this culture suddenly disappeared. They're called the Human culture or the Jomon culture, and they describe them as exactly that. Amphibian beings that came out of the ocean. They said they came from the skies and taught them how to do pottery and kiln, make a kiln to heat their powder so it would last long. And then I did research in college where I was finding very similar motifs and artwork in Central and South America that were almost identical to 12,000-year-old pots from Japan. And it turns out that what would happen was they would take canoes and do a caravan of canoes across the Aleutian, not really a land bridge. It wasn't where you could always walk across. It's the archipelago. And they went across the archipelagos through Alaska, Canada, Western America, Central America, the top eastern part of North, or top western part of North South America, and then went all the way back through the Polynesian Islands back to Japan. And they traded with and bred with all those people. The Human Genome Project just recently, when they announced their results, concurred with my results that they bred with each other because the Native Americans of North, Central, and South America are closer in genome type to haplogroups in Korea and Japan than they are to European haplogroups. So there was contact way back.
Well, we know that. So when it comes to the reptilians and humans, so this is what everybody really thinks happened. So somewhere way back, 65 million years ago, the reptilians were living on this planet. We know from the Pravda map that that's probably true. And if y'all don't know what the Pravda map is, people, it's a map found. It's a cover stone map found that dates back about 120 million years. It's a map from an aerial view that's 120 million years old. It's pretty fascinating stuff. But anyway, so we know that's what they thought the reptilians were. And then they're pretty sure that they knew that there was going to be a strike on this planet, meaning they knew there was an asteroid coming or something was coming. We're saying it was an asteroid. As far as we know, the humans may attack the planet. We don't really know what happened. We're just assuming it because remember, Mars died around the same time Earth did, and they're pretty sure now that Venus died around the same time Earth did, somewhere between 55 and 65 million years ago. So you got three worlds that were probably very similar at the time, that now two are uninhabitable and one is habitable. But anyway, the reptilians left. They went wherever. Most people think they went to the Dogon star, which a lot of people think they're from there, but it sounds more like they were living here and going there. No, they're not from Earth either, but everybody argues about where they're actually from because they've been around for a long time, like 700 million years. But anyway, so we know they were here, and then we know they left for a while, and then we know the humans showed up. Now, this is the kicker. When did the humans actually show up? So Samaria we can use, but when you're listening to Sumerian stories, they sound 10 or 12,000 years old. They don't sound 6,000 years old. But as far as we know, they came here 100,000 or 200,000 years, because remember, they had to build the two great white dome cities. That shit didn't happen overnight, especially if they were using slave labor. So I'm figuring a good while back, and then all of a sudden, reptilians come flying back in a spaceship and said, "What the?
Yeah, who took our planet?
Who the hell is this? And what the hell? Wait, and who are these ant things running around with? Whoa, wait a minute. So they went and parked somewhere. Whoever they had dealings with, or whatever they were having dealings with, they parked it and they started studying until they were ready to make a change. And when they made a change, they made a big change. I mean, without our reptilian section, we are not the race we are today. What do you mean without it? Without it, we'd be slaves. Somebody would have took over 100,000 years ago, and we'd all still be slaves to whoever that was.
So going back real quick to the creation myth in Sumeria, a lot of people assume that the word Adamu means the first ones, the first human beings that were made. That's an incorrect contemplation. The actual meaning behind Adamu, like Joe said, there were seven different experiments. Because when you're building a creature from scratch with genetics, you first of all, you cultivate multiple experiments. You don't just go, we'll try this one. You put out several. The ones that peter out, you get rid of, and you go on with the ones that keep going. So that the problem was they couldn't keep the first batches alive long enough to do the work. They were dying too fast, and they were having to replace them too quickly and wasting the Anunnaki's time. So they made the Adamu, and Adamu were us, our ancestors rather. And Adamu in that aspect meant the first ones who could procreate on their own. So they allowed us to have that ability so that we could reproduce. In their eyes, we breed like rabbits.
Rats.
So rabbits, rats, whatever. Rodentia. So they allowed us to have that ability to reproduce so that they wouldn't have to worry about making more of us. They could go on with their stuff, building whatever they were building, and we could do their toils for them. So just a little explanation for Adamu.
I heard a theory that human beings are a genetically created virus used to destroy, build up the world to a point where, I don't know how, but anyway.
You mean like Putin going to drop a nuke on all of our heads in a couple of weeks?
Something like we're built to destroy ourselves. So we're basically going to destroy ourselves and make room for, the next inhabitants.
Well, see, that's actually a good point. The fact that, there's always been a problem with this planet. And right now it shows more than it ever has before. We're split.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what it is. You could go say anything you wanted to anywhere you want right now and ask for people's opinion. You're going to get two different opinions. You might get a few more, but more than likely you're going to get two sides. Or you can do a yes or no question, and unless it's just something outrageous, you're going to have an argument on your hands. So it's like, let's use this one because my son likes to use this. So a quarterback makes $450 million to play. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, I hear people bitch all the time about Hollywood stars and people in corporate which make far less than that. But we don't get upset about that. But it's okay. So no, people are getting upset now. So, but what side? So right now it's a split. Half say, oh, it's so fine. They're entertaining. They should get that kind of money. Other half the country's like, what are you crazy? Do you know how much a ticket or how much a Coke is at a game? $8, $10?
Though I know entertainers that do stand-up comedy at the local, dive bar. I know entertainers who are musicians that can only go to free mic nights at the cafe and just as worthy of being famous and making so much money as the next person, but they're not giving a weird message that everyone can hear. You know what I mean?
Well, the problem is a lot of Hollywood people don't do that kind of stuff, and I have experience with Leon Redbone. When I went to college, he was good friends with the gentleman down there who's since passed, who owned a bar called Jim Collins. The man's name was Jim Collins. He had a bar. He only sold beer and the occasional hamburger or hot dog and a couple glasses of wine and Coke and soda. He did not like liquor because he thought it caused fights. But Mr. Redbone would come and visit, and the bar it's closed now, but it had different types of guitars. They had balalaicas from Russia. They had Ovation guitars and acoustic guitars and all kinds of different acoustic instruments hanging off the wall. Anyone could grab it and play it, whether you knew how or not. And he would show up, grab a guitar off the wall, sit on a stool on the bar, and just strum out tunes. And I met the man doing that one time, and I'm like, This guy makes millions of dollars a year off of records he made 50 years ago. And he's down here in this crappy ass dive bar with a hole in the floor. The bathroom had a hole in the floor. You could see down to the floor below. That's how crappy this bar was. But we all hung out there, and he gifted us with his time and playing music for us. And we didn't have to pay him anything. That's very rare in Hollywood. It's very rare in Hollywood.
Mr. Bojangle.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't. Oh, well, thank you, Stephanie. I like my voice too. I like doing lectures. Yes, it's a good thing I do because I like to talk a lot. Go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. What would the link be if I wanted to share this for others to watch?
Oh my God! It could be any of our. Let's see. You what are we on tonight? We are on. What the hell is this? Which one is this? Oh, we're on UFOs, Gods, and Extraterrestrials. That is on YouTube. We are also on Twitter. We're on Facebook. You know what? Here, let me drop one of the Facebook pages, and I'll put UFO Undercover on so y'all can listen to us on there. Hold on.
And I tried to hit the ones I thought we needed. It's the first time doing it.
You got close. You got close. The YouTube pages are where we keep our video feeds at. Hold on. Let me remove that, and let me hit. I will put y'all on. Bloop. And if you're on YouTube now, all you got to do is type in UFO Paranormal Radio, and we will come up live and cute. Now, if you're on Roku, just type in UFO Paranormal, and usually it comes right up.
Yeah.
And you can watch us on Roku and see how beautiful we are. What do you mean? I'm the best looking one in the group. What are you talking about? No,
Oh, no.
Raymond goes, no, we think Lee isn't. No, I'm the best looking one here. Bite this, buddy. Oh my God.
I feel the love.
That's right. I feel love. Christy's still around. I need some love. Man, somebody give me some love around here. What's that stuff? No. I well, it depends what voice I use. Some people hate when I use this voice. They're like, Joe, please
radio
use
DJ
voice. Oh my God, Joe, don't use that voice anymore. Please stop it. It's there's about 5 voices I can use. One of them is a very monotone voice, like, hi, I'm Joe.
That's the one that all the training videos at work have. You watch.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one I use when I'm doing hypnosis. Yes, it's a good way to hypnotize a whole damn audience. Good evening. You are listening to United Public Radio with Joe, Jay, and Leah. Please deposit all your money. That's right. Deposit all your money right there. The sign. What do you mean? Who's my favorite abductee? Or wait a minute. Wait. Okay, look. Let's straighten some shit out here. Okay, first off, an abductee is just a person who's been taken. Half the time they don't know what's going on. Right. Contactees are people who know what's going on, but are not really in the field.
I'm not really in the field.
And then you have keepers and communicators and communicators and whatever the hell they are. They're there for support. And these are people who have more active with the aliens, the keepers especially. They're working usually programs, helping the people on board the ship, helping to bring people on board ship, helping to deal with the children, the adults, and so on. No, but you have speakers and communicators. They're out there talking to the world, telling them this is real, telling them about their own experiences and what happens. All of that is stuff that needs to be told.
Yeah. There was a big UN thing about people talking about their alien abduction stories just recently within the last couple of years. And I don't think anything came of it, but it was in the news for a little bit.
Actually, Michael Mulvaney's a little scratchy tonight. It's kind of weird. What you got? No, who's an alien? Joe Biden. Give me a break. Nobody. I'm just gonna leave that go. What alien? What, the dumbest ass alien on the planet race? Is that what we got going on here? I'm just no. I'm not even going to talk about the orange alien. No, we're just leaving that one alone. No, because really, truly, if I have to look at Congress as aliens, I just got to think all the alien races are just dumbasses. And since I know some of them are not, I just have to think, oh my God, humans need to work on some stuff.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Planet Earth has access to these, like, who is there anyone that would be able to, like, hey, I want to go on a little spaceship ride right now because I'm rich, I have all the money in the world, and I want to go to outer space. I mean, like, is the Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, are they actually able to do these?
Oh yeah, they've done it. They put Captain Kirk. Bezos put several people in commuters in space. Russians have done it too. Hell, the Russians sent some to the space station. Elon.
During the 80s and 90s, the Russians were actually actively letting people buy tickets to go on their space shuttle flights.
Elon's not putting any civilians into space. He's like, look, people, this is professionalism here. We're not doing this.
What about Robert Bigelow? Isn't he commercializing space? Like, isn't that what the Bigelow
they are
all about?
Yeah. So you have Bigelow, Bezos, and was it McAfee? Who is it? Sierra Nevada, the one building the space plane. That's McAfee, isn't it? Or
no, Norton. Northrop Grumman, I think. No, not Northrop.
No, that's not them. It's one of the other kind.
It's the Skunk Works.
No, it's not them either. It's one of the. It's a billionaire. I just can't remember.
Yeah.
Guy?
Wait, say that again, boo?
Is it the British guy, the Virgin Airlines guy?
Yeah, it is the Virgin Airlines. Yeah, thank you very much. That's who it is.
Yeah, Brandon something or other.
Yeah. And so those people are actively looking to put me and you into space. Eventually, they want to get it down to around $5,000 a ticket so anybody can go to space. And Japanese have been bugging the Americans for 3 decades to put a big space hotel in space. So it looks like the U.S. is going to give them approval to do it. Jack, no, for a long time, because, all right.
Where is all the poop and pee going to go? Is it get burnt?
It becomes what they call the constellation urine. They eject it into space and it freezes instantly.
So when you're out there, people, and all of a sudden you feel a drop of something on your head and there's nothing in the sky, you're like, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody
greetings from above
just peed on your head.
That just goes to show where my brain goes. Like,
hey, well, that's a good one though.
All that?
Well, it's true. It's got to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the liquid stuff will get redone into water. Yes, people, you will be drinking your pee. I'm sorry to tell you that. So,
what about Antarctica?
Wait, what is it? Wait, you broke up. Say it again.
What about Antarctica? What about that topic?
We are not.
There's a lot down there.
No one lives there.
No one.
It's a safe place. No one goes there. No.
Has it melted completely?
No, indeed not.
No.
It's
it's like so on the coast you can see actual land, but the rest of it 2 to 3 miles of snow.
So I got confused about Antarctica. So NASA's going, oh, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, what's going to all do? And then NASA posted an image. Oh no, the ice is spreading out. It actually was growing. Then they found, oh, well, no, it's melting here, but it's spreading here, but it's awful thin. They're like, what the hell? They found a volcano on Antarctica. It's active. Same thing. Remember when they said, what is it, Greenland or which one is Iceland? Global warming. Oh, guess what? No, it wasn't global warming. It's a volcano.
It's green. It's Iceland that has it, the geothermal.
Yeah, it's a big, nasty volcano at that, too. So, again, that's 2 times we got blamed. Us humans got blamed for something we did not do. Because look, this is my point. Y'all ever heard of a caldera? So back in the past, calderas have blown up, which one caldera will put more stuff in the atmosphere than we would have to live 1 billion years to produce what a caldera could produce. And that's back at the rates in the 20s, not in the rates that we do today. They're much lower now. So if that's true, every time a volcano blows up, which is pretty frequent these days, how much carbon did they put into the atmosphere? So Mount St. Helens put enough garbage in the atmosphere that it would literally take the United States 100 years of driving every day, nonstop, 24 hours a day to produce that.
Yeah, and the ash plume from Mount St. Helens made its way all the way across the country and dropped stuff in New York City.
Yes, and then let's not forget the one
that's an above ground volcano.
Yes,
not a caldera.
Yeah. That it's above, and then
much more dangerous.
And yeah, calderas are very wicked. And then let's not forget about the one just 10 years ago that blew up and had all the air traffic over the northern part of the Atlantic, couldn't go anywhere.
They had to reset all the machines that.
Oh, it's an alien! It's an alien! It's an alien! Squeezy alien! It's a squeezy alien!
Yeah. No, it's a fried egg, isn't it?
It is.
It's a fried
alien, man.
Hi, beanie baby fried egg.
I haven't even. Let's not be putting fried eggs around. Man, I ain't even had dinner, man. I'm hungry. It's what was that, Brenda? If you want to come on, Brenda, you come on. You can come pop on with us and tell us your story if you want to. What? Well, I'd be scared of aliens. Only a stupid person wouldn't be scared of aliens.
Yeah, I mean, they have technology that they can wipe us off of the face of this planet without even blinking. So
hold
yeah, it's scary.
Let me show you all this. I can't give y'all this one away until I have him back on. Well, no, I can't give this one away. It's a personal copy. But, so this is from a friend of ours, Gary Haslin. He's also friends with what's his name from Rendlesham? What is his name? What the hell?
Peniston?
Not Peniston. Not none of the crazy ones. What the hell? No, the Colonel was all right, but he was.
What was the other guy's name? His name was John too.
Larry Warren. That's who they're talking about. So so Peter Robbins wrote the book Left at Eastgate, which was about what happened with Larry Warren, of course, at Rendlesham. This is the book before the movie that's coming out, also talking about what happened with Larry Warren. So this is very interesting, people. I offered John Burroughs and Jim Peniston and Colonel Holt an opportunity to be voice dressed or to sit and do a session with me under facial recognition and the whole 9 yards. That's what I used to do way back in the day for a living. So I'm like, let's do this and let's clear it. And he said, oh no, we can't. I said, well, look, I said, Larry Warren has already taken a polygraph and a voice stress. Larry Warren was polygraphed by the #1 polygrapher in the UK. And I voice stressed him twice. And then I made him sit in front of me and we did body language. Well, he's been on TV with us enough. It's easy to do body language and facial recognition with him. So he's willing to do it, but none of the other 3 were, which were supposed to be the top witnesses of the whole thing, but yet they refused to be polygraphed. Why? I can tell you why, because whatever truth there was left in their story went the way of the dodo bird when they started talking about they were time travelers and here to save the human race. Let me tell you this, James and Jim, you're doing a piss poor job.
Yeah.
Okay, the planet looks like it's in a world of shit to me.
We got several wars going and another big one about on the horizon. Yeah, this isn't good.
Well, see, but this is the thing
that told me that Vladimir Putin, whatever, just declared war on Ukraine. But haven't they already been at war for like a while now?
Well, no, they had the Crimea War a few years ago, but that settled, and Russia took the Crimean Peninsula away from Ukraine, and then they did this more recent one because he wants to go after Nazis. So, yes. Whatever.
Which we haven't seen any Nazis yet, by the way.
I haven't seen a Nazi yet.
It's been a year now, 2 years, 1 year. It's been a year now.
Going on 3.
I'm like, look, Putin. No, now what Putin is saying is he's mad and he wants to launch a nuke at somebody. So, because we won't get out of his war. So now all of a sudden, this dumbass, his only friend, which is China, by the way, he's starting to get in a fight with China. No, not anymore.
Oh, so, well, they were going to be in talks sometime.
Well, China said that we would back you militarily in the Ukraine and wherever. And then I don't know exactly what happened. I got the story somewhere. I got it for Friday. I saved it. He decided that he's been running invasion exercises up and down the China border for the last couple of weeks. So Xi Jinping decided, look, I can't back World War III, dude. I'm sorry. He said, because he knows what's coming. He knows that if he backs anything with Putin, U.S. is going to sanction him out of existence. Trump has already sanctioned him so bad that this big, huge economy that was going to overtake us, barely he's even going to reach our target now. He's in bad trouble. He's in trouble where he could lose his position. So he's having to rethink everything, and hanging out with Putin, the crazy bastard, is not the best thing to happen. So, what's funny about this, who was it that just interviewed him? What's his name? The American who just interviewed him, Jay. Who was it? It was famous guy. He used to be on Fox. Oh man, what the hell? Anyway, he interviewed this to Putin, got a good interview with Putin, and then started making fun of him when he got home. And I'm thinking, you're an idiot, dude. Do you know how many people have died that Putin don't like, America or not? I don't know if that's going to actually keep you safe. But that's just one of those things. But he said that he felt that the feeling he got off of Putin was that all Putin wants to do is wrap this shit up into Ukraine and get out of this by saving face, and Europe and
Tucker
America
Carlson.
won't let him. Tucker Carlson, thank you.
Tucker Carlson.
And,
we talked about it in last show.
But then he said he didn't even feel like America was the one really standing in his way. He thought the EU and NATO was the problem.
Yeah.
But he knows as well as anybody else you can't start a war with NATO as long as we're a member. Now, maybe he's hoping when Trump comes in, when he wins, because Trump wants out of NATO because they're not paying their bills, then without the United States, NATO is
yeah. If we're not a member, we aren't obligated to help them out. But
wait,
would we jump into a war if we exit NATO after Trump gets back in? Will he attack NATO, and will we have to help them out? Probably.
It
all
gets
those
even better because he said with America not being in NATO, their, how do you say it? Our extra solar friends won't get involved.
Why is it either Biden or Trump?
Because we have idiots in our country, and it's what it is. Is Biden.
Yeah, because the people who are in control are too old. I mean, we talked about this on the news. On the flip side, there, the average age of
one's a reptilian
is 65 years old, and more than half of them are older than 65. So do the math. I mean, they're all octogenarians.
Why can't cut it off at a certain age? Like if there's an age minimum, why can't there be an age maximum?
Because you ever heard the thing young and dumb? That's why there's not an age. Ronald Reagan was one of the best presidents the country ever had. He made it till 80. So,
and he was starting to get dementia at that last.
And Eisenhower, who went through the war, he made it to 80. Some of our best presidents were older guys, and the reason why they were so good is one, they actually knew how to get shit done, and they knew how to play the game, and they knew how the world worked. The problem with people like Obama, he didn't know how the world worked.
He didn't have enough experience. He was
too young.
He was too young.
So if you had a cap for old, you'd have to have a cap for young too.
Yeah. Well, there are minimums to get into any of those jobs.
You'd have to raise
25 to be a representative, 30 for a senator, and
that's too young.
40 for a president.
That's too young though. We've already proven that we've never had any really good young presidents. Closest one was Clinton, and he was in his 50s. So 50.
One might argue Kennedy was pretty good too. He wasn't very well liked, but
50 to 70, that would be the age limit. 50 to 70, it would cut down who could get in there for sure. It could get rid of a lot of the dummies. They ain't gonna never do it.
I mean, there's also mandatory retirement age in the country. When you hit 65, you can voluntarily retire, but at 70, they mandate you retire. You're allegedly no longer allowed to legally work full time after the age of 70. That should be the same for all politicians across the board.
But that has to be raised. That was when we used to live to 50. Now we live to 100.
Those numbers may need to be tweaked. Yes, I agree. But there still needs to be a minimum and a cap. You have to be this age to get into this job, and you can't be this age to be, you have to be under this age to be in it. So
I don't think it should ever be about age. I think that
it should be about competency for one thing.
Well, competency should be in there, but they should not, when their competency test, it should be different. You should have to have an X amount of understanding about this entire part of the planet, and what's going to be your course before you're ever allowed to run for president. And that should be made public for the country to see. So the country can say, hey, you know what? You might be like that Kennedy guy. Might be a good president. But he's not going to get in because he talks like this. I am Kennedy, and I'm going to kill all you bastards. And you're not going to win nothing like that. Yeah, well, we can't help it. People are like that. Americans are very superficial. We want to know what you look like. We want to know what you hear. Look at Obama. Obama had zero experience. I mean, this guy, you know what he was before he was president, people? He was a community organizer in a small community.
Like governor of Illinois
nope.
Or mayor of Chicago?
Nope. He was
nothing like that.
Community organizer of a very small community group. That was
very small community in Chicago. And then on top of that, just before his senatorial campaign, he and his wife, Michelle, were asked to summarily turn in their licenses to practice law in furtherance of not being criminally accused of something or ethically accused of something. Yeah. So they are no longer able to practice law in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, they did have their license taken for. So what he did, that's what he was. He was a community organizer, and they talked him into running for Senate, and he had been a senator for 6 months.
Senator.
Yeah, when he.
Yep.
He was a senator for 6
Illinois
months.
state
Never
senator.
even voted. Never even voted.
Never even went to Congress. He never
Yes.
went to D.C.
And he was asked to run for president. So he went from basically a community organizer to president of the most powerful country that ever exists on our planet. That was dangerous. That was stupidity on our part and dangerous. Plus, he holds the record for what? Drone kills.
Most people killed in an administration.
By drones. Right? By drones. He's got the most people killed by drones. He's even got.
We're not counting Korea. Or
yeah, well, no, they're talking about drones. No, he was killing some of those missions. They killed up to 5,000 people in some of those missions, and it didn't matter what sex you were. It didn't matter what age you were. He killed babies, children, adults, semi-adults.
What was the end? What was the means to the end?
He wanted to win the Iraq War.
Oh.
And actually, most of it was just terrorist stuff. Most of what you hear these guys do now
more retaliation, I think, than anything else.
Oh, wait, what? You did what? We're going to go blow your shit like we're doing right now with the Houthis. We're just blowing their shit up. We have no business being there, but we like blowing shit up. And the aliens don't seem to care, so,
Well, plus
I think
we have
the
surplus of older ammunition we got to get rid of so we can bring in the new stuff.
I think the aliens enjoy watching us blow shit up. Then they don't have to go do it. They're like, let's watch you stupid humans blow some stuff up. Oh, wait, no nukes now, people. Calm down. We got ships on your planet. We don't want to see no nukes going off.
Yeah.
But somebody asked me that just the other day, would the Greys step in and stop a nuclear weapon? Oh, man.
I would say if one of those weapons strikes near or right on top of one of their bases, yeah, absolutely. If we hit one of their bases with one of our devices, yes, absolutely, they would intervene.
So, because they have never intervened in anything before, they didn't any nukes dropped. They've never intervened. And get this, Fukushima, they didn't intervene there. 3 Mile Island, nope, they didn't intervene. Chernobyl, they didn't intervene there. Nagasaki, Hiroshima, they didn't get there. So,
but they were there.
They were there, and there was a president.
There's a UFO at each explosion. Both
there's
the
a presence
at Area 51 and the 2 drops in Japan.
There was a presence. They'd been seen more than once, and other pilots have talked about seeing them there. But and they proved that they could shut our missiles down without even trying.
Well, the thing with that in the 80s, they did a what do you call? I guess a 1-2 punch on us. Our missiles would be shut down by their equipment, while at the same time in Russia, their missiles were being armed for getting ready to launch.
Yes, it's if they wanted to wipe us out, they could. It's not really what they're here for. There'll be no chocolate. I'm gonna whoop up on you, girl. I just told you I was hungry. Oh man,
chocolate. Oh, you bring enough for everybody?
Voodoo on her ass, man. We putting some voodoo on her ass.
So hungry.
What's that, Carolyn? Do aliens like chocolate? I don't know. I think Bob Lazar, was it Bob Lazar? One of them told me one time, and not told me, told the world that they Greys like strawberry ice cream.
I like strawberry ice cream.
I do too, but I don't know if the Greys do. Bob, y'all like strawberry ice cream? No?
I like strawberry flavor, period. I think strawberry flavors are like superior than other.
Well, I live in the deep South where we get strawberries rained on our head half the year. So, matter of fact, the other night I was making a smoothie, strawberry banana smoothie, actually. And the freaking Gray, he likes them. Bob's, I'm like, dude, get out of, you know what? Maybe he does like strawberries, and some bitch wouldn't get out of my smoothie.
As a bartender, I can tell you they're also particular to frozen strawberry daiquiris.
I think they like them daiquiris too, man. I know. I used to always have a daiquiri in my car, and half the time they'd be gone, halfway gone. So a friend says, well, your wife drinks. I said, she don't drink. I was like, he's like, well, you just forgot. I'm like, no, I said, trust me, I know if I'm drinking a damn thing or not.
Right.
We were doing an investigation one night out in the middle of Honey Island Swamp, like a mile from NASA's front gate. So we all spread out all over the place, and we got the camera set up because there's a media shower that night too. So you can hear everybody talking. I still got the tapes. I got to get a new high 8 Sony so I can get them off of there, or maybe I can just send them and get them taken off. But anyway, you can hear everybody talking and just chit chatting, and then everybody kind of split up into like 3 groups, and everybody's going on. Then all of a sudden you hear, I can't use this language, but you hear what the no, and so and then you hear me turn around and go, what in the bleep 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 bleep? That was like 30 curse words, and I'm like, no bleep 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 bleep, no bleep bleep, and so we decided Just tells you how dumbasses we are, because we only seen one gray and it was 3 of us. So we figured, everybody's telepathic. We had heard that you could stop or slow down a gray with telepathy because they're telepathic. Okay. So we figured, what the bleep, we're going to try. So you can hear us talking about this. You actually hear this on the tape. And then you hear the other people in front like nothing's going on. They don't see anything. And we're talking, and they're just bleep, 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 bleep in the front of where the front of the car was, where the camera was. They're just yapping away. So I'm like, well, we'll give it a try. What the hell? We're so stupid, man. So the gray was like moving towards us and it stopped. I'm like, oh, look at that. Look at that. And then we stopped. I'm like, look at this shit. So we stopped. And then all of a sudden you see bloop, bloop. 2 more grays pop up. I don't, it took me an hour to get my brain to even work correctly again. I don't know what it was. It felt like an EMP across my brain is what it felt like. And I remember getting in the car because I was almost like punch drunk. You know, my skin felt all clammy and cold and slimy. And I finally got my ass back in the car, and I'm screaming at the bleeps in front of us. And I'm like, what the, y'all didn't see any of this? What is wrong with you? And they're all like, what are you talking about? You just standing back there by the trunk. I'm like, really? So I said, okay, rewind. And I put it on play, and the audio was still there. The whole thing. Even those weird sounds that the grays made were actually on audio. And they were like, no effing way. I'm like, yeah, what are y'all just going to let us get eaten? Y'all just beep, 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 standing from the beep, beep, and bleeping car, watching some bleep, bleep, and bleep, and shooting stuff. Sorry, people, I was mad, so I was cussing a lot. And I was like, you got to be effing kidding me. Y'all didn't hear anything or see anything or anything. And so all 3 of us were like, it really did feel like somebody just melted the inside of my brain and was just slushing around in there. Enough that I made somebody else drive, and I never like trusting anybody driving. So I was like, okay, let's get out of here. And then later, much later at night, I had the thing on my big screen TV, and we were listening. And every now and then, I still have it. You can see, it's like it's moving so fast. It just makes it like a little. When it stops, makes like a little blur, and it takes off again. It's a gray. It's a 4 foot, 5 foot gray, and he I don't want to say he, it could be a she, was coming from behind us back around to the front. It must have been at the time when we were trying to stop the other one. The other 2 were joining in. And so we had an idea where it came from. So we're stupid people, because we're researchers. So a couple nights back, they got a big yellow. This is so fun. There's a big yellow spot on the street with an X in it, right where it came out of. It was just weird. It's still there. Matter of fact, even today, you still go find it. It's still there. And I'm like, what kind of bleeping stuff is this? So we go back out there with 6 of us. And we're concentrating. Come out, Mr. Gray, come out. We're such idiots. I swear. You hear this. I don't know what it was. It sounded like someone had like a big knife and was just stabbing a horse to death. Whatever it was screaming, and it was horrible, and you knew it was agonizing, whatever it was. Could have been a gator got hold of something, because we're in the middle of the swamp. But this was coming from NASA itself, out of the NASA area. And I'm like, so 3 of them just got in the car and left. It scared them so bad they just got in the car and left. And of course, me and Linda and Gia still standing like idiots. And we're doing this and doing that. And then it was just this weird light. And I remember sitting in Waffle House. I'm like, obviously I drove to Waffle House. And I was like, okay. And Gia's like, and I'm kind of like, and Linda's laughing her ass off. I'm like, what are you laughing? What's you can think so funny? She said, y'all got just what you deserve. I told y'all, don't go back out there and F with him. You got just, she was being cruel. She's laughing hard. Gia would never go back out there with us again, ever. Matter of fact, a lot of places we go, she wouldn't come in. She was crazy. Missed go walk through the middle of the desert in the middle of the night on her own.
That's dangerous.
She was a desert rat. That's where she grew up, and out in the desert. She's like, the swamp was, different for her, but she was like, I ain't going out there with y'all anymore. She said, I don't know what happened.
A lot scarier than a desert, for sure.
She said, I don't know what happened to me out there, and I don't want to find out what happened to me out there. I don't even want to be hypnotized about it.
Wow.
Because I kept saying, let me just put you under. She said, no, I don't want to know. And every time I'd get her talked into it, she'd come sit down and she'd make up some bullshit story. I said, come on, stop, give me the truth. She said, I can't. She said, I can't get it out of my mouth. And so nobody ever got to the truth. We never actually found out what happened. I tried to get hypnotized 3 or 4 times, and they just couldn't get me under for it. It's not that I wouldn't go
there's
on.
Some sort of mental block they put in there so that you can't get to it.
I hate to say it. I think I was the problem. I don't even think it was them. I think I was blocking. I don't even think it was an alien block. I think whatever it was something I did not want to remember. And I don't think it was alien either. It might have been in the beginning, but I don't think the end was. What do you mean? So, Sarah, what I mean by that is, so when we were talking about Travis Walton, I meant to bring this up. So Travis Walton was what we call a handoff case. A handoff case is, okay, aliens come abduct you, and then they come bring you to Lia because she works for the government and she's their handoff. So a lot of times you will find them they'll be in like white suits. White, like something you'd see from the CDC. So there's some coincidences between Travis Walton and Betty and Barney Hill and how they were conducted. Betty and Barney Hill were picked up in Canada at the hotel they were staying at. So that morning, Betty and Barney went across the street and had breakfast at the place across the street, had breakfast. They could not remember the name of the hotel or the place they had breakfast. Maybe if you'd been out partying all night, I could see that slip and slide. But for the most part, most people would remember that. So later that day, they asked for directions. Betty describes a white chunky cop, and Barney describes a black Irishman. Skinny black Irishman, too, by the way. This is the same cop we're talking about. Okay, they were in the car together, and he stopped and asked for directions, and she remembers that, and he remembers this. So that's abduction 101. So we know they were taken in Canada. So we also know that Barney was the abductee, not Betty. So
he was the focus of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had been taken all his life, and he had been in and out of he had mental problems when he was young. This guy had a colonel living with him and was friends with two other colonels and got to take his white wife to the White House in 1969, I think it was. Yeah. What the hell was going on here?
During very, very scary times for anybody who was black. And if you're a mixed couple, look out.
So you have all of this right there. And so they've definitely been watching him all his life. I know Betty really wanted to be, and I liked Betty, but she just wasn't. And I still catch shit for that. And but anyway,
she was a very pleasant lady, but she was not extraordinary or remarkable. Whatever it was they were after, it was coming from Barney's side.
Yeah. So, and when you hear Dr. Simon's tapes, which I got somewhere, there's 3 sets of dreams there, or 3 sets of memories there, and so you got 1 set of program memories, 1 set of alien memories, and 1 set of the military abduction. So there was no doubt. But what I mean by this is, so the aliens had him first, and they said that they were driving across the line and were picked up. And when they described him being picked up, they said it was 4 men in black boots, black pants, black shirts, and black duck-billed caps. Okay. That's some kind of service.
That's my labs. That's
definitely. Right. So I really think Betty and Barney was the first military abduction case. And the reason I bring it up is Travis Walton is the same thing. So they were basically handed off because they don't remember any of the trip into the United States. They just remembered, and then they're being taken. So Travis Walton was the same thing.
Travel time.
So when Travis was taken, when he was put back, he was handed off to a man and a woman in white suits. And when I asked him, this is most important, I said, did they speak to you in telepathically, or did you hear them? He said, oh, I heard them. And he said they took these blood samples. This was typical C2C. Same thing that happened to Barney. So and this is the other thing that Betty never grasped. So when they had Barney and they took skin samples, they took like shavings with a razor blade. They took urine samples. They took blood samples. They took hair samples. Aliens never take these kind of stuff. Not like that anyway. They don't need to.
Barney actually had scoop marks.
Yeah.
Where they
he
took scoop marks out of his skin.
So they took a lot of samples from him, but they didn't take them from Betty. Just from Barney. And Betty never wanted to admit to that. And I cornered her into it.
They did confiscate Betty's dress from that incident because she could never find it again. There's something she got some sort of. She bumped into something on the table and got some sort of residue from the alien.
Oh wait, she said, and then later on she said she got the dress back and they were going to have it analyzed. I just left that alone because that was just one of those things that popped out. And it's the same thing with Kathleen Margin. So when Betty describes what she saw on the ship, she said, "Pull down maps." That's period. That's era.
That's
pull out drives. paperback books. I mean, this is period. This is era. Every swinging doors, stairs going up to the ship. This is all period stuff. All of this. Well, when Kathy rewrote her book, she changed it to like monitors and all this other fancy dancy stuff that we would use today. But that's bullshit because that's not what Kathy said, and it changes the outcome of the story. So in this case, Kathy was allowed to see what was going on because she was being military abducted. And you know, and they were doing whatever they were doing with him, and then they released him. And then Barney was in and out of freaking seeing psycho people for a long time. And then
ever since,
So in the 70s, I got a bunch of their where they went and did radio interviews in the 70s or the early 70s, I should say. And you can hear Barney. You don't hear this in Betty's voice, but you hear it in Barney's. Barney was scared. And when you hear him in the Simon's tape, he's scared. Whatever this is, scared the living crap out of him. He was not trying to be brave or anything else. But Betty wanted to be part of it so bad, she just kept interjecting herself into it. And then later on, after Barney passed, everybody wanted to focus on Betty, but Betty was never the contactee.
Yeah.
And Kathleen, she was sorry, but it's true.
For sure. And she did describe some alien type processes that we didn't have then, like the amniocentesis they performed on her. We didn't have it back then. In 1969, to find out if you were pregnant, you went to the doctor, they took hormones from you and injected it into a rabbit. If the rabbit survived, you weren't pregnant.
Wow.
So yeah, they would kill rabbits to find out if you were pregnant.
You rabbit
way
killers.
Back then. So and
amniocentesis
was not a thing yet. It not until 70s or 80s even, I don't think.
But the problem with that is she could have seen that on board the ship. It doesn't necessarily have to happen to her. So that's what I'm saying.
She describes it as happening to her, though.
But when you go back and listen to when she's describing what goes on in that ship and what's going on when she talks about the tape, at no time does she ever say any of that happened. So that wasn't until after Barney died. She didn't say she had been messed with until after he died. At least I couldn't find any interviews where she said it before when he was still alive. I can find him after he died, but I couldn't find him before that, which suggests, we might be taking some liberties here. And when I think it was Carol Ross and one of them asked her to take a polygraph, she flipped out hard. Come on. If you're telling the truth, you're not going to flip out over a polygraph. You're going to say sure, or you're going to say, well, who's going to do it? Because I don't know if I trust you to do it. I can understand that. But when you say no, you just look guilty. Doesn't matter if you're guilty or not, Harold. You just look that way. There's nothing wrong with taking a polygraph, especially with the stuff we're talking about. Everything adds credibility. Everything helps to prove your point.
Go back to Travis Walton. All of his friends, every one of his friends who witnessed his abduction, except for the one guy who was scared because he had a criminal background, all of them passed.
Well, and he didn't even fail. His was inconclusive.
It was inconclusive because he was nervous, and that's what the examiner said. He's like, I can't conclude anything because he wasn't. Because
he had a nice criminal record. He was
scared that he would be arrested for whatever he did after this that would get him in trouble.
Yeah, so I can understand that. And so basically they all passed. I mean, it was 5 of them all together.
100%, yeah.
So, I mean, and they went, and no, Janine, is that your name? Janine, where are you from? Miami, Florida. Well, hey, how you doing down there in the wet, rainy, warm Miami, Florida down there? What's that? Well, the government is very interested in this. They okay. The aliens don't talk to the government. I know people always want to tell you the aliens talk to the government. They don't. Aliens don't even like our governments. Look, America's the most free government on the planet. They don't want to talk to them. You really think they want to go talk to Cuba or Russia or China, anybody else in the freaking
world? They're more inclined to talk to really, really primitive natives, the people that don't have contact with the modern world.
So the best thing to understand is they have an agenda, and our governments are not part of their agenda.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
We are, but our government.
Yeah, the contactees are, but the government is not.
Human beings are part of this, but not the governments. Yes.
So is the government essentially trying to make their way in because they know something's going on and they want to take control of it?
That's what we were talking about when we were talking about the keepers and all. So when this ever happens and they know this is going to happen already, they want to collect as many as they can. One, because contactees are naturally immune to whatever this is. And get this, I bet y'all didn't know this, but for COVID, most of the contactees I have on file did not get COVID. And the ones I did, with the exception, I got it horribly, but we're not even going to get into that. I only got it one time.
Yeah,
but I've had it 3 times.
You took one of the injections, so.
And no, I got the Johnson and Johnson.
I know, but still, the injection still has the virus in it.
It does.
In a
It's
neutral
and
state.
I only actually got the injection because so this was in January. I got horribly sick, and then everybody in the house got. My son got it first, and he wouldn't get off the chair for like 5 minutes. What the hell's wrong with you, man? I said, even when he's got the flu, he's up and moving around, causing irritations. And finally, so after 16 days, I went and seen my doctor, and she said, I don't know what the hell you got. And then it ended up putting Linda in the hospital for 11 days.
Ouch.
Oh.
And so it was just, but then after that, I've gotten it twice since then. Both times were, fairly, both times I got it from LA too, by the way.
Yeah. And lesser and lesser symptoms as it gets older in your system, your body gets used to it.
Gene, I will be in LA from the 17th through the 27th or 28th.
March 17th?
No, April.
Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna miss St. Patrick's Day then.
Shit, I'm gonna miss Jazz Fest, half of it anyway.
Oh crap!
It's what's that? Huh?
Where are you at, Jay?
I'm in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, just about 15 minutes north of the Mason-Dixon line, central southern PA.
Yes, we have 5 hosts from Pittsburgh. You, Sean.
I'm not from Pittsburgh.
Well, you know what I mean.
3 hours away. Yeah, from Pennsylvania.
I'm from Pennsylvania. I know we got 4 for sure. I thought we had 5 though. So we got Sean
for sure, myself,
yourself, Julie, and Phil from Horseshoe Chronicles, and there's somebody else. There's somebody else besides.
I didn't know they're in PA. That's cool. They're close.
Yeah, they're in PA. They're Staten Island, as you can tell with their accent.
Oh yeah, well that's where they're from, but where they are is a different story.
Yeah, where they are now is living in that damn haunted house they live in. Yeah, the Horseshoe. Y'all should go check them out, guys. That freaking place is all kind of haunted. What was that? I hate to tell you this, but they really only abduct good-looking people. There's no real ugly contactees. So if they're really ugly,
well, no, they don't really abduct versus looks. They
abduct really no listen. Don't listen to Jay.
You're not in the bloodline, you're not going.
Don't listen to Jay.
The way it goes.
I've never met an ugly contactee yet. I don't know what to tell y'all. Aliens got good taste.
Billy Meyer was a bit quirky looking, but he was more a contactee than abductee.
Oh, Billy, poor Billy, man. I feel for Billy. Oh, Michael Horn still hates me too, by the way. That's his official spokesperson. Billy was very interesting. Billy's first shoots and things were right on. Everything he said was the truth. And then Billy got bored. You see, the problem with ufology, it's like every other thing out there, especially when it comes to media. You're only as famous as your last thing.
Yeah.
That's why somewhere along the line, I realized that when I first, about 10 years or 15 years after I was in the field, I said, well, I ain't going to do this. This is not what I'm here for. I'm here for research. I ain't playing this game. So, which I kind of played it without trying, but still. It's the way it is. So it's the same. Ow, sorry about that, guys. What the hell was that?
Alien probed you?
I don't know what that was. A weird.
Lucky they probed you up there, not in the other place.
Hey, no, I will shoot. Where's my gun? Are you lucky it ain't up in here with me? I'll go. Martha, where you at, baby? You come over here, by Daddy. Y'all be shitting. My gun comes floating up in here. I'm telling y'all. Now y'all made me forget what the hell I was talking about. Damn it! I'm blaming it on Leah. Christopher, Lia is a friend of mine. Goes pretty far back, actually. It's not like we just met the other day. She's actually a good friend of mine. And sometimes we talk a lot. Sometimes we don't see each other. Sometimes we talk. I'm trying to get her to come back with us all the time, helping us out research with ICAR. Speaking of that, while we're on that, we are reopening ICAR. It's not so much that we close it. We just put it in what we call research mode. And research mode is just when a few of us researchers are into a heavy thing, which will get announced sometime in the next year or so. Leah also used to co-host with me. She was evil though, man. She used to give me shit like y'all would not believe, man. I'm telling y'all what. No, it wasn't aliens. It was politics. She was evil. And no, she's a sweetheart. She's always been.
Well, one might argue that politicians are quite alien.
And she's. Oh, you didn't know that? No, John. She's the governor of. She's Newsom's girlfriend. You didn't know that?
I met Gavin Newsom, by the way. I met him in San Francisco on Hippie Hill.
On Hippie Hill.
Park. I was smoking a joint with some random locals in San Francisco, and he walked up and just stood next to us like he was part of our little sesh.
He wanted to catch a buzz. That's why.
Yeah.
You're catching a secondhand buzz.
Yeah, y'all keep this
He
smoking.
was wearing a suit. He was wearing like a beige suit, like a blazer and some slacks, and everyone else was wearing their hippie clothes. I was wearing my little weird clothes. I had a red beanie on, but I just remember he just came and stood up next to us, and I honestly didn't know who he was until one of the other people was like, that's Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Want to catch a little contact buzz. I know in LA you can catch a contact buzz. All you got to just walk around Hollywood. Jesus.
And the states are falling like I predicted. It's a little slower than I predicted, but when Colorado did the recreational, I said it won't be 10, 15 years before the rest of the country falls. Now, everything on this side of the planet, except for my state, Pennsylvania, and I think Maine, are the only ones above Maryland and Virginia and West Virginia that aren't recreational yet.
Yeah, no, it's gonna get weird. So, somebody asked me the other day, he said, Joe, how come there's so many abductions in certain parts of the country? I said, well, here, I got a little thing for you. I said, so east of the Mississippi River, 80% of America lives east of the Mississippi River. From the south to the north, 80%. 340 million Americans live in those areas. Shit, just in the Northeast, there's 80 million Americans living there.
Just in New York City alone, there's 10 million people that live there. And throughout the week, during work hours, there's another 9 to 10 million people that come in there to do their work before they go home in the evening. So there's 20 million people there any given time of day.
So when you get back to the Mississippi River and you head west, from the Mississippi River west, 80% of America lives in it. Remember, there's a big chunk of the country, people. So out of that 20%, 12% live in California, Oregon, and Washington. So that leaves 8% of the country that lives in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Nevada, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado. Yes. 8%. That's it. I'm like,
and we also did the calculation on the show the other night, where if we took the bulk, the entirety of the human race, and built them a place to live, we could house all 8 billion people right now within the borders of the state of Texas comfortably.
Wow.
Comfortably.
Yes, because we like living on top of each other like idiots.
Yeah. The problem with our country, our planet, is that we do not have a population problem. What we have is a population density problem, is that there's too many people in small confined spaces. Hong Kong, New York, name a place that's got millions of people in it. It's just move away from those places, diversify yourselves, go out to the country, get into the suburbs,
But humans
spread out.
We're it's kind of animals we are. We're social animals. We like to be up against each other.
True.
Well, we
spreading our diseases and shit.
Humans like to be next to bodies of water.
Yes, they do.
Flowing water, next to the rivers, next to ocean.
It's not even that we like; it's a necessity in most parts. We need water. We need water we need fresh water to do a lot of things. But we also need to be able to move around and expand. What do you mean?
I've driven across I-80, and asked myself so many times, like, why does nobody live here in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, or why does nobody live here in the middle of nowhere, Utah? And it's because there's no resources.
There's very little infrastructure, and there's places in Texas. My roommate and I in college, we went to Arizona to go camping for a week, and we drove down. We didn't go across the top of the state. We went down the bottom where the shoehorn is, and we went down that. It's like 2 different rows. You go down in like a V shape through the bottom of the state, and there's literally places where it's 300, 400, 500 miles between cities. So if you don't gas up before you leave a populated area, you are stranded. And by the time we got to the middle of the state, it must have been 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, very early in the morning. There's nobody out there, nobody whatsoever.
Well, think of it this way: we do stupid things like we built Las Vegas in the middle of the desert, not even with any water around it. We just built it in the middle of the desert. We'll pipe water in from California, and that's after we built Phoenix in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Because Americans are stupid.
In the middle of the desert.
Because Americans are stupid. I mean, sooner or later we're going to have a water problem with Vegas and Phoenix. It's just a matter of time, especially with the climate changing the way it is.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience. My parents lived in Phoenix, and there are blackout days where you can't water your lawn if you have a grass lawn.
Oh yeah.
And most of the people in the town are smart. They either have a chipped white marble front lawn, or they have AstroTurf.
Yeah, well, most of them you see all kind of rock. They got granite yards with big rocks in them and cactus in them. They all kind of shit.
Hardscape lawn instead of a soft lawn.
There's not much in the way of grass anywhere. You might sometimes see if you got a pool in the backyard, you might actually see some grass back there. And even they keep their pools covered. They don't really have a chance. So down here, we don't keep ours covered. Shit, man. We got more water. We know what to do. Even though Louisiana's been in a drought last 2 years. A drought for us is not the same for the rest of the country. So we were short 22 inches of water. For most places, that would be a nightmare. But we still got another 40 inches besides that. So.
Yeah, but you're also below the water plane, and so most runoff comes down towards you eventually. So your lawns won't suffer, but your infrastructure might.
Yeah.
How close are you to the coast, Joe?
To me, you don't want to know how close I am to the coast. So
he's sitting on a bayou right now.
So if you walk out of my back door, I am 25 feet from Mahali Bayou, and my boat dock is 150 yards from the Gulf of Mexico.
Wow. How soon do you think it'll be when your property's completely underwater, submerged?
Not anytime soon.
Okay, good.
It's not that it can't be by hurricanes. Don't get me wrong. We had when Ida came through, there was 9 feet of water underneath my house. Literally, it was only this much from the bottom of my house. But let me show you something here. Let me show you something. Let's put y'all.
House is on stilts.
So your house is on stilts.
Yes, his house is on
big
stilts.
Tall ceiling.
Yeah, vaulted 12-foot ceiling.
So that's a vaulted ceiling. That's 12 feet. Is what that ceiling is, and that right there was underwater for Katrina.
Wow.
It was completely underwater.
Yeah, the Louisiana, New Orleans area where you're at is about 10 feet below ocean level. Same with Florida too.
It's weird. So New Orleans actually is weird. So the French Quarter is above sea level, and the St. Charles area is above sea level by about 3 feet. But after that, it starts going down, and anywhere from 1 foot to 12 foot, depending on where you are, could be the depth below sea level. If you're close to the lake and the levee, you're probably at least 12 feet below. If you're up by the river, depending on what part it is, you could be above sea level all the way down to about 12 feet below. It just depends where you're at. It's a very strange place.
You have a hurricane come through that drops a couple hundred decaliters on you, and you're underwater until the sewers, the infrastructure in the sewer system.
Yeah, they have to reverse. They have to get the pumps up and run them and reverse them and suck the water out. And so it's a little better now. I mean, each major storm they build a better. Not where I'm at right now. There's nothing here. There's nothing protecting me here. There's a bridge in front of my house that will break the wave, which might allow my house to survive. But if it's a class 3 or higher, I won't be around here.
Yeah, if you don't get across that bridge before the wave, you're not getting out either.
And it's funny where I live. You can't live here without crossing a bridge. There's a bridge everywhere. So, matter of fact, our first year we moved in this place. Come here. Our first year we moved in this place. Come on. You want to come on and get on TV? Come on. She backed up. That means she wants to be on air. Hold on. Let's get
little baby Huey was on earlier.
Let's get you up here.
Is that a puppy?
That's a Chihuahua.
Is it Chihuahua?
That is a full-grown 2-year-old baby girl.
Aww.
She is. She said, "I'm coming to hang out with Daddy."
She's got a guilty look, though. She must have done something. She came in to see you.
She's my little baby gray, but she's black instead of gray. It's what's that, Denise? No, she's a demon. No, she's a demon. She's in here. She said because Daddy's supposed to be doing something else right now. What? Oh, because we ran over. Is that what's going on? Oh, shit. Okay, hold on, baby. I'm sorry. We're chatting like we got time. We've actually run into the Outer Realms time. So.
Oh, she's your messenger.
She come to tell me, yeah. She's like, you're not supposed to be in here anymore. She's out here messing with me. I know. I see you. I'm going to get off. Oh, man. I was wondering what was going on. Because if she comes in, she usually comes in the middle of a show and she wants to hang out for a minute and then she leaves. I'm sorry, Jack and guys. We got a lot of questions, but we're actually in the Outer Realms time zone right now by a half hour. Yes, I'm blaming Leah. I'm blaming Leah for everything. Yes.
Sorry.
No, everybody did a great job. No, we hope you'll see Leah with a lot more on multiple shows, but this one especially because she knows as much as anybody else I know about aliens. It's good therapy too. Thank you, Christy. It's what's that, Janine? What? Hurry up, real quick. Tape it out. like your warp speed type. Come on. Oh, well, thank you too. Well, no, we enjoy being here. We have a lot of fun. Yes, no, we'll be here Friday night causing all kind of ruckus. Well, we'll actually talk about some of the topics we talked about here tonight that are actually politically rated on that show. Yes, that we can't really talk about here. Yes, why Putin wants to marry Jay. I'm not sure what the hell that's about, but
he's barking up the wrong tree.
He proposed on television. I would like to marry Jay McNicholas from. Yeah, I was like, wow, really? I don't know. He's pretty rich, Jay. I'm just thinking, man, he could retire.
Yeah, I don't like blondes.
Especially not going there.
Especially zealotorial, dictatorial types like him.
God. Anyway, guys, I thank everybody who didn't make it to the chat room, everybody who's listening to us on via message, or anybody who's listening on Roku or United Public Radio or UPNTalkRadio.com. I hope y'all all enjoyed the show. So it's Leah and Jay and myself. Oh, yes, we're going to have to give, oh, you're right. We're going to have to give her a J name, aren't we?
Yeah. Jennifer, Jessica.
No, that's what a G. Jessica.
Okay, so people ask me what Leah is short for. I usually say it's short for genitalia.
So we'll just call you Jean for short.
Wait a minute. I think that's a G. Anyway, we're getting out of here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. Any moans, bones, glitches, complaints, or anything else, you write to Michelle DeRoche.
Michelle DeRoche.
That's who you write to. You mean if you want to complain about me, you write to Michelle DeRoche.
Right to Michelle, yeah.
Well, because writing to me is a waste of your time. Yeah, you're just wasting your time. I'm just going to ignore you.
Yeah.
If it's constructive criticism. I mean, you can send it to me, but send it to Michelle too. Because I like her to get any moans, groans, bitches, or complaints. She's the boss. She needs to get them.
She's the station manager.
She makes the decisions on how things go in a station, so that's who needs to get them. What do you mean? What are you talking about? No, you know where she lives? She lives in Canada. Yes. Yeah, she's not even in the United States, doofus ass. I mean,
and them Canucks are dangerous. So.
No, she's here because she's very familiar with media. She's very familiar with television, and she knows a lot about a lot of different things, especially in these fields. So that's why she's here. And she don't take no bullshit. That's another reason I like her. You mean mine? She don't have to take mine. She's the boss. I tell her, somebody the other day, one of the hosts that recently got fired had wrote me this really nice, sweet letter trying to get their asses back on the air. I said, you're wasting your time. I said, I can send it to Michelle. And if Michelle decides to put you back, I said, sometimes she'll let people come back. I said, if it's writing to me, it's a waste of time. I said, I've only overridden her one time and it's the last time. It ain't going to happen again. So nope. Sorry guys. Don't get your ass in trouble with the boss is all I can say. But we got to go. She's on right now. She's going to be hollering at me in like 5 minutes, cussing me in different languages.
Oh, look, there's a kitty.
There's a pretty kitty.
That's a huge
Phil Collins. Phil Collins, my big orange buddy.
Phil Collins. I'm like a Joe. You know.
Yeah, Bill Bruford's in here too, but he runs away when I try to scoop him up.
He's like, he had enough. But anyway, guys and girls, y'all will be hearing this in just a second. And then you will hear the closing song. And then we will see y'all on when?
Friday. Today's Wednesday. Well, Friday.
Today's Wednesday.
Okay.
But we're not going over there. Going somewhere. Anyway, good night, you guys. Stay out of trouble. What's the song I always sing? No, we're not going to sing that tonight. No,
you don't want to hear me sing. I can't carry a tune in a bucket.
Yeah. Anyway, we're out of here, people.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there.
You're listening to UFO Undercover.